Chapter 1562. That's right. Student Yiqing Luo, no matter what, we are fellow students from the same academy. Now is the critical moment of the academy's competition. By doing this, you're totally disregarding the Heavenly Academy and Ghost Martial Master. The other elite students who had been chasing after Qianqian also chimed in. There was a small portion of them who maintained a wait-and-see attitude, not saying a single word. Hurriedly rebuking and cursing. Yiqing Luo's expression remained unchanged. She just stood there proudly. A pair of charming eyes, without any emotions. One by one, she swept past those students who hooted the most fiercest. Why didn't you say that you're Heavenly Academy's students when we were hunting the magical beasts? When the magic crystal score was lagging behind, why didn't you think that you're Heavenly Academy's students and work hard to get the magic crystal? Instead, time and time again, delaying the team's progress. At this moment, why didn't you say that you're Heavenly Academy's students? Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with contempt. She disdainfully glanced at Qianqian. If I were you, I would choose to save some energy and not waste time and energy to argue with me. Saying that, Yiqing Luo directly turned around and returned to her own seat. The fruits in her hands were crunching noisily. This sound agitated the elite students as their faces turned green and white. Indeed, if they wasted any more energy, they would directly die of thirst in this godforsaken place. Yiqing Luo obviously had no intention to take out the portion of food which belonged to them. If they didn't think of a way to find food and drink, they would definitely die here. Hence, the elite students couldn't be bothered to beg Yiqing Luo. One by one, they supported Qianqian and stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, just you wait. After leaving a vicious sentence, the group of them then mustered their last bit of energy and walked towards another direction. But not all the elite students followed them. At this moment, there were 10 over elite students who stared at the group of students who left with hesitation. After hesitating for a moment, they followed a few more people. Finally, there were 13 people who stood at the original spot. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her vision fell onto those 13 people. In the end, he fixed his gaze on the two most eye-catching people among the 13. A trace of astonishment flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo wasn't unfamiliar with these two people. It was Qi Yijing and Dong Huanglang from High Profound Class 1. In this period of time, Devil Class and these two people did not have much interaction. At most, they would greet each other. Non-interference. It could be said that during this period of time, Qianqian's group of elite students and the Devil Class were in a heated argument. Both of them looked as if they were watching a show. For some unknown reason, Qianqian did not focus his fire on the two of them. At this juncture, when Yiqing Luo saw these two people, she was rather shocked. There were a few others who were also High Profound Class 1 students. There were also a few students from Low Profound Class 2. Qi Yijing and Dong Huanglang were very familiar with each other. Especially Dong Huanglang, who hooked his arm around Qi Yijing's shoulder and waved his hand. Student Yiqing Luo, I brought my Jing to seek refuge with you. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes and focused on the word, my home. These two people. Could it be that they have developed into that kind of relationship? This word, my home, was really broad and profound. On the other hand, the other 10 over students stood on the spot uneasily. Chapter 1563. Yiqing Luo didn't say any unnecessary nonsense. She directly retrieved the water bags from her space pocket and threw them towards the direction of those students. The students received the water bags in a fluster. When they saw that the things in their hands were actually water bags, they stared blankly at the water bags in their hands in a daze. Yiqing Luo actually distributed the water bags to them. Although during this period of time, they had never followed Zi and that bunch of students to do anything to harm Devil Class. But they had never helped Devil Class when they were bullied by Zi and the other elite students. They had always been following behind Zi and that bunch of students. Even if Yiqing Luo chased them away now, that was something to be expected. But Yiqing Luo didn't say a word as she took out her water bag. In the blazing flame nest, water was the most precious thing. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo took out 10 sets of dry rations and asked the students beside her to send it over to them. 1 hand of dry rations. 1 hand of water bag. The 10 students were feeling extremely complicated. There were 3 female students whose eyes turned red immediately. All of them were filled with gratitude, wishing that they could do anything for Yiqing Luo. All the Devil Class students had the same thought in their hearts at this moment. Other than speechlessness, what else could they say? Are these students stupid? These water bags and food, they originally had a share. What they were getting now, was the share of food that they deserved. To be so moved to tears. What was she trying to do? They gave a thumbs up to Yiqing Luo's way of subtly buying people's hearts. Boss's tricks were too deep. They had witnessed it. Facing their own brothers, those disdainful, supercilious eyes. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged her shoulders. These few students were just so innocent, what else could she do? After eating and drinking their fill, the group set off once again. This time, without that bunch of noisy intermediate profound class 2 students who were dragging them down. Their efficiency and speed had increased by a lot. Not long later, they left that secluded corner and met magical beasts one after another. Until evening time, Devil Class and the rest had already obtained close to 300 magic crystals. The last 10 students had once again refreshed their understanding of Devil Class. This group of people were simply too powerful. He could deal with a magical beast in minutes. Those magical beasts were like cabbages in their hands. Every slash was accurate. They rejoiced. He cleverly chose to follow the Devil Class. Otherwise, he would leave with Zi Qianqian's group of students. They would probably die on the way. After Yiqing Luo finished calculating the magic crystals that she had obtained, she took a look at the sky and said, "Let's find a safe place to rest first. Even if it's a mission or a competition, we need to replenish our energy and maintain our best condition." The Devil Class students replied in unison, "Yes." After walking for about the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. Not far ahead, the group saw a relatively clean piece of land. There were also many smooth stones around. Yiqing Luo felt that she should rest there. The group walked over and found a place to sit down. Yiqing Luo discovered that there were quite a number of empty water bags lying on the ground near this open space. It was obvious that students from other academies had come here to rest not long ago. There were no other students around. Yiqing Luo didn't think too much about it. After eating and drinking, Yiqing Luo asked everyone to take a short nap. Chapter 1564. Everyone quivered as they instantly regained their senses. They were indeed tired. So tired that they could fall asleep the moment they laid down on the bed, the kind of tiredness that even thunder wouldn't wake them up. But unfortunately, that cheering sound was extremely sharp and piercing to the ear. It was even more terrifying than thunder. Devil Class's students without exception, all of them sat up amidst that cheering sound. Wow! Brother Tsang Tian, I indeed didn't hear wrongly. The lady was jumping with joy, as though she was asking for credit. Yiqing Luo frowned. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Could it be? Yiqing Luo had a bad premonition. Just as she was thinking carefully, Kitty Lee leaned over and hooked her arm. Sister, Kitty Lee heard it too. Heard what? Yiqing Luo roughly understood from the content of that lady's cheering. The woman seemed to have heard something and followed the sound. Then, she found something that made them happy. Kitty Lee's ears were sensitive as the headscarf on her head shook. It's the sound of flowing water. Flowing water sound. No wonder those students were so excited. The most precious thing in the blazing flame nest was water. But how could there be flowing water in the blazing flame nest? Yiqing Luo frowned as she gently rubbed Kitty Lee's head. Are you sure you didn't hear wrongly? Kitty Lee nodded her head vigorously as her lively eyes blinked. Kitty Lee can confirm that it's the sound of flowing water. Devil class's students looked at each other in dismay. Apparently they couldn't believe that there would be flowing water in a place like the blazing flame nest. Let's go take a look. Yiqing Luo felt that something was amiss. Following Kitty Lee, the group followed the sound of flowing water. After walking a few dozen meters, he saw a clear stream flowing down from the upper reaches of a dense forest. That sound of flowing water, in everyone's ears, sounded like a lively tune. And near that stream, they saw an academy's students, around 70 to 80 of them. At this moment, they were extremely excited as they stood by the stream, pointing at it, not knowing what they were talking about. The 10 over students behind them saw the stream and their eyes lit up. All of them hurriedly ran towards the direction of the stream. Be careful. Yiqing Luo calmly reminded them as she stared at that clear stream. There's something strange here, it's best to be careful. The devil class students nodded their heads in agreement. There's a strange feeling in the surroundings, don't go near for now. The 10 over students could only give up and obediently return behind the devil class students. At this moment, the 70 to 80 students from the other academies directly rushed to the side of the stream. One by one, they took out their water bags and filled them to the brim. After filling up all the water bags, with a splash, a group of students jumped into the stream. The stream is shallow. However, it did not affect them from splashing around in the water. Over the past few days, he had received cruel training in the flame lair. There was no way to clean himself up. Their bodies reeked of sweat. Now that he saw the stream, he wanted to soak in it for 3 days and 3 nights without wanting to get up. He heard the laughter of the students over there. The students of devil class were actually feeling restless in their hearts. However, the surrounding feeling was indeed too strange. They could not put their finger on it. It was just that, this stream should not have appeared here. At this moment, they suddenly heard a shout from the side of the stream, all of you, quickly come ashore. This stream is not safe. They saw a young man dressed in a lake-colored uniform, rushing over in a hurry. Chapter 1565. Those students who were happily splashing in the water, on seeing this young man who had popped out of nowhere, why would they bother about him? Hey, lad! Scram to one side. What's not safe? What's not safe about the stream? I think you lad are trying to scare us away, then monopolize this stream. Sentence after sentence of ridicule made that young man's face turn steely green. The flustered expression on his face slowly faded away. Replacing it was a stretch of coldness. Something happened, then don't blame me for not warning you beforehand. The young man gave a cold harumph, but didn't continue to dissuade her. Instead he stood by the side of the stream, at a slightly safer position, occasionally extending his head to look at the movement of the stream, as though he was waiting for something. After Yiqing Luo saw that young man, she walked over directly. The group of people behind her followed closely behind. Hearing the footsteps, the young man turned his head back in alarm. When he met with Yiqing Luo's pair of dazzling eyes, his eyes shot out an ecstatic glow. Qing Luo. I've finally found you. The young man rushed up anxiously, stretching out his hand to grab Yiqing Luo's wrist. A tall figure blocked the young man's outstretched hand. The young man was stunned, as he lowered his eyes to look at his own hands, realizing that he was too agitated. He hurriedly lowered his head to apologize. "Ah, Jean, move aside." Yiqing Luo looked at Long Yunjian, who was blocking in front of her, and then looked at the young man's pale face, as she raised her hand to push Long Yunjian away. "Han Shang, what's the matter?" This young man was Mo Han Shang. "Qing Luo, that stream has a problem. Our academy students were all swallowed by the stream." Mo Han Shang said anxiously, as his eyes were filled with anxiety. Nantao Academy's students were swallowed by the stream. When the crowd heard this, their gazes immediately shot towards that stream. "We were like them previously, thinking that we met with a stream, and were washing ourselves in the stream. Suddenly there seemed to be something dragging us into the stream. That stream is obviously very shallow, but I saw with my own eyes each and every student being dragged into the stream." Mo Han Shang recalled the situation back then, as he still had some lingering fear. Yiqing Luo sized Mo Han Shang up meaningfully. "Why didn't you go into the water?" Mo Han Shang was startled. He shifted his gaze away unnaturally and said with a bitter voice, I don't know how to swim, so I might as well wait for the students by the shore." Yiqing Luo didn't interrogate him forcefully. Her vision went past Mo Han Shang, and looked towards that stream. From the looks of it, there should be something below this stream. It's either a magical beast from this blaze nest, or it's a magical beast that Master Gui Wu let in. "What about my classmates? Not sure." Yiqing Luo shook her head, but no news is also the best news. Let's observe the situation first before making a decision. The reason why Yiqing Luo said this was because she didn't smell any blood stench in the air. Of course, it was also possible that the smell was drowned out by the stream. Before she was certain, Yiqing Luo would not come to a conclusion easily. Right at this moment, a heart-wrenching scream suddenly rang out from the stream. "Sister Nuo!" A rough male voice rang out, and a figure could be seen leaping into the stream. Immediately following that clear stream had unknowingly turned into a whirlpool. That figure pounced onto thin air. He watched helplessly as the young lady was drawn into the whirlpool. And the surrounding students were no exception. Chapter 1566. Behind the devil class, those 10 students felt a chill down their spines when they saw this scene. They were rejoicing that they had listened to Yiqing Luo's devil class words and didn't rush to the stream. Otherwise, the people who were swept into the whirlpool would be them. No one knew what was underneath the stream. They only knew it was just a moment's effort. Those bunch of students who were still in the stream earlier were all swept into the water. The stream had once again regained its original tranquility. There wasn't even a single ripple on the surface of the stream. Those students who were still on the riverbank froze on the spot as their faces turned extremely pale. No one dared to go near the direction of the stream. "Sister Nuo! Sister Nuo!" Right in this silent atmosphere, a loud roar broke the silence. They saw that person who had pounced on the riverbank trying to save them, standing by the stream, shouting, "Sister Nuo!" His face was filled with anxiety and worry. Behind him, there were only 10 students who had not pounced into the stream earlier as they grabbed hold of that person. "Young Master Ji, don't be rash. We don't know what's below the stream, you can't go down. My sister Nuo is below." The person who was addressed as young master bellowed with a sinister expression. Suddenly, his arm exerted strength as he pulled those few students behind him and threw them into the stream. "You find my sister Nuo for me. Otherwise I will let you accompany her to death." Those few students had no time to react. Even when they were pushed into the stream by young Master Ji. But in the blink of an eye, that stream swirled up another whirlpool, directly sweeping those students who had fallen into the depths of the stream. The remaining few students subconsciously retreated, distancing themselves from that young Master Ji. Qing Luo, that. What's going on? Yan Xiaoyi squinted her beautiful eyes as she stared at the direction of the stream, frowning tightly. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. There's something below the stream. Currently we are unable to determine if that thing is dangerous or not. Kitty doesn't smell any blood or killing stench. Kitty Li blinked her eyes. Do you want to go over to take a look? Tong Ziqing asked Yi Qing Luo's opinion. Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment. Those who are fast, follow me to take a look. The rest of you stay here and don't casually move forward. Towards Yi Qing Luo's instructions. The students of the Devil class were all obedient. Devil class's 13 people and Imo Han Shang, who was following closely behind Yi Qing Luo, together with Dong Huang Lang and Qi Yi Jing, crossed the trees and walked directly towards the stream. He heard someone's voice. Standing on the shore, young Master Ji, who is still shouting, Sister Nua, turns his head with scarlet eyes. His gaze coincidentally met with Yi Qing Luo's. A look of hatred and resentment shot out from young Master Ji's eyes. Bitch, it's actually you. When she saw the person in front of her clearly, Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Wasn't this the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's group leader, Ji Tsang Tian, whom they had met when the World Mercenary Group had just been established? That Ji Tsang Tian who could casually kill his own mercenary group's brothers for the woman he loved deeply. What a small world. Ever since the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was removed from the Mercenary Association, Yi Qing Luo and the others had never seen this pair of strange and twisted couple. She had not expected that they would meet again. This person was Ji Tsang Tian. Chapter 1567. Yi Qing Luo still remembered that most of the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's members were students from some academy. It seemed like it should be called the Immortal Phoenix Academy. Although this academy was not as good as the Heavenly Academy, Nantao Academy, and other first-tier academies. However, it was still a famous second-tier academy. Seeing these two people, the youths in Devil class could not conceal the despise and disdain in their eyes. They didn't have a good impression of this kind of person who didn't hesitate to kill a brother who had gone through life and death with him just to please a woman. Yi Qing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste time on this kind of beast. He walked past Ji Tsang Tian and walked towards the stream. When Ji Tsang Tian saw Yi Qing Luo, he was immediately filled with rage as it gushed into his heart. He was originally a high and mighty mercenary group leader. Due to Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's status in the pugilistic world, his status in the Ji family had also risen. But everything was ruined in the hands of this woman. Everything was ruined in the hands of the World Mercenary Group. Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was removed from the list. The entire Ji family had been blacklisted by the Mercenary Union. If it wasn't for Lan Ling Nuo's status as a princess, the Mercenary Union would probably send people to destroy him. He hated Yi Qing Luo. World Hatred Mercenary Group. He hated everyone who had ruined him. And the person he hated. But as if he couldn't see him, he directly walked past him. No matter how slow-witted Ji Tsang Tian was. At this moment, he understood that Yi Qing Luo totally disregarded him. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's departing figure, anger started to rise in Ji Tsang Tian's heart. Without thinking, he directly strode forward and stretched out his hand to pull Yi Qing Luo. However, Ji Tsang Tian's hand had just stretched out. He let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. Oh! Ouch, ouch, ouch. He saw the man beside Yi Qing Luo who was like an ice mountain, using a pair of azure blue eyes, staring coldly at him. Under the gaze of those eyes, Ji Tsang Tian felt his entire body turning cold. A chill ran from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. He was horrified. However, he was unable to move his body. His hand was tightly grasped by the blue-eyed man. With a little more force, he heard the sound of his own bones breaking. Ji Tsangtian's face turned pale as he was extremely terrified. Yiqing Luo then shifted her gaze onto Ji Tsangtian. Her charming eyes were filled with unconcealable mockery. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she sneered, "Ji Tsangtian, your beloved woman's life or death is unknown and you still have the mood to waste time here. If you really love that little sister Nuo, to the point that you've gone crazy, shouldn't you directly dive into the water and live and die together with your little sister Nuo?" You! Ji Tsangtian's words were stuck in his throat. Behind him, there were even voices of agreement from his own academy's students. Exactly. If you love Goddess Lan so much, why don't you go look for her yourself? He even pushed us, innocent students, into the water. This person's character is really, it's because of his bad character that he was expelled from the mercenary union. If it wasn't for his strong background, no matter where he goes, he would definitely be beaten up by everyone. Ji Tsangtian's face was steely green as he stared furiously at those students. The students of the Celestial Phoenix Academy shrunk their necks, not daring to speak again. Taking advantage of this gap, Yiqing Luo had already walked to the side of the stream. Long Yunzhan also shook off Ji Tsangtian's hand. The group of 10 over people stopped by the side of the stream. Chapter 1568. Yiqing Luo. Don't you understand the principle of first come first serve? You've already pocketed so many of our water bags and dry rations, and still want to snatch the water source that we saw. This sharp and ear-piercing voice. Yiqing Luo didn't need to raise her head to know who the other party was. Wasn't it Zi Qianqian and the rest who had parted ways with them not long ago? Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she raised her eyes and looked at the opposite side of the stream. Sure enough, she saw the group of students from the Intermediate Profound Class 2, standing arrogantly opposite the stream. And behind Zi Qianqian was a group of about 50 to 60 students dressed in brown uniforms. It looked like Zi Qianqian had hooked up with the students from other schools. Come to think of it. Under the situation where there was no food or drink. If they were to stay in the flame nest for a day and night, other than obtaining food from the students from other schools, there was no other way. It looked like these people had also heard the sound of flowing water and followed the sound to find their way here. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her pupils shone deeply. Oh. This is the water source that you saw first? She admired Zi Qianqian and the rest for their ability to lie through their teeth. But since Zi Qianqian and the rest wanted this stream, she wasn't an unreasonable person. Hence, Yiqing Luo opened up her arms and led her own brother as she retreated a distance back. It wasn't until they stopped at a safe place that a smile appeared on his face. He looked at Zi Qianqian with a faint smile and said, "Su Xiaolian is right. It is indeed first come, first served. We can't be the first to go." Zi Qianqian's expression instantly froze. She glanced sideways at Su Xiaolian, as though she couldn't believe that Yiqing Luo was so easy to talk to. Su Xiaolian was also stunned. Even their footsteps towards the stream instinctively slowed down. How could that slut Yiqing Luo be so kind? Could she be plotting something? Su Xiaolian asked in a low voice. Zi Qianqian frowned as her beautiful eyes stared at Yiqing Luo, trying to find clues from her face. Behind Zi Qianqian were the second-tier schools, King Academy's students. Leading them was King Academy's top elite student, Lu Moyuan. The first time Lu Moyuan saw Zi Qianqian, he was attracted by her beauty and bowed down before her skirt. Now that he saw Zi Qianqian's ashen face, he recalled that along the way, Su Xiaolian and the other students kept complaining in his ears, saying that the students of the devil class were rude and unreasonable and had bullied Zi Qianqian. Lu Moyuan's guardian goddess heart. Instantly, it began to burn. Qianqian, don't be afraid. Even if that slut wants to play any tricks, I will protect you. Lu Moyuan clenched his fists and solemnly swore to Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian raised her beautiful eyes slightly, her attitude still arrogant. Only, his brows revealed a trace of worry. Student Lu, Student Yiqing Luo's methods. I'm worried that you'll get hurt. All the students from the various academies had some understanding of Zi Qianqian's personality. To be able to receive a word of concern from Zi Qianqian. Especially that, I'm worried that you'll get hurt, it was simply explosive. Lu Moyuan expressed that he was willing to die for Zi Qianqian. He was absolutely willing. Don't worry, Qianqian. I, Lu Moyuan, am not to be trifled with. In order to maintain his heroic image in front of the goddess, Lu Moyuan directly walked towards the direction of the stream. He was exceptionally excited. He didn't see the moment he turned around. Chapter 1569. Lu Moyuan walked to the side of the stream and his vision was fixed on the opposite side of the stream, at the lady who was smiling at him. His heart suddenly trembled. He didn't know if it was because of Yiqing Luo's beauty. There was an ominous premonition in his heart. But the arrow was already on the bowstring and had to be released. The goddess was still watching his performance from behind. If he retreated now, wouldn't it leave the impression of a weakling in the goddess's heart? With this thought in mind, Lu Moyuan took a deep breath and squatted down as he stretched out his hand to check the stream water. His fingers specially pinched a silver needle. When he picked it up again and confirmed that the stream water wasn't poisonous, he heaved a sigh of relief. Student Qianqian, there's no problem with this stream water. Everyone come over and fill up the water bags. Seeing Lu Moyuan standing by the side of the water, he didn't seem surprised at all. Zi Qianqian and the rest then heaved a sigh of relief. Su Xiaolian stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo's direction and said unhappily, that slut is really unscrupulous. She knew that we wouldn't believe her, so she intentionally put on this look to force us to embarrass ourselves. There was no problem with the stream. Yiqing Luo intentionally gave in, just to provoke their suspicions. Then she watched them choose to give up on this water source because they suspected that there was a problem with the stream. What a scheming mind! Su Xiaolian snorted and praised Zi Qianqian, Goddess Qianqian, you're the best. Just one sentence and Student Lu helped you check if there's any problem with the stream. Zi Qianqian proudly raised her chin. Following that, under the crowd's escort, a group of people walked to the stream. They didn't know if it was their misconception. Or was it because of Yiqing Luo's earlier concession which made them feel uneasy? Just as they neared the stream, the students from Celestial Phoenix Academy seemed to have retreated a distance. But there was such worry. After they felt the cool feeling of the stream water, it was thrown beyond the clouds. For the past few days, they couldn't even drink water in the blazing flame cave, not to mention bathing. Finally, there was a clean water source. Zi Qianqian and the rest directly jumped into the stream, feeling the feeling of the water surrounding their bodies. Yiqing Luo and the rest crossed their arms, calmly looking at Zi Qianqian and the rest who had their eyes closed in satisfaction. They're here. Yiqing Luo's ears twitched. Her gaze swam in the stream. When the people around him heard this, they immediately focused and looked in the direction of the stream. Indeed, at the instant when Yiqing Luo's words landed, the stream tumbled. The vortex appeared again. With lightning speed, the dozens of students in the stream were swept into the water. The surroundings were deathly silent. After a long while, the students of Imperial College who were still standing on the shore, waiting for the next wave to enter the water, let out screams of terror. All of them wanted to go up and call their boss's name. However, he was also afraid that if he got too close, he would be swept into the bottom of the stream. Who? Suddenly, the moment the vortex disappeared, an arm stretched out. Immediately after, Enchanting climbed out of the water. In her hand, she was still tightly holding onto the Tianling staff. When she reached the shore, she fell to the ground, exhausted, gasping for air. The students of Imperial College immediately went up to her. "Goddess, where's our boss? Has Boss Lu come up?" Chapter 1570. The King's Academy's students didn't say anything more. They knew that this lady held an extremely important position in their own boss's heart. In everyone's hearts, Enchanting was their future sister-in-law. One by one, they asked about her well-being and took out a clean set of clothes from their space pockets to drape over her. Following that, they helped Enchanting to sit down beside a tree. Those students believed in Enchanting's words. But Yiqing Luo didn't think so. Enchanting climbed ashore. Yiqing Luo paid attention to Enchanting. Although she didn't know what the thing in the water was, but she had some guesses. To be able to escape from the water, even with the celestial silk staff, it wouldn't be that easy. Looking at Enchanting's expression and gaze, Yiqing Luo roughly guessed it. She guessed that Lu Moyuan was trying to save her. But Enchanting wasn't that kind-hearted. She directly made use of Lu Moyuan to escape from the water. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly but didn't expose her. Anyway, one was willing to take the hit and the other was willing to take the hit. As a bystander, whatever she said was wrong. Her smile attracted Enchanting's attention. She was wiping her wet hair, and when she heard the laughter, she immediately raised her eyes and looked towards the direction of the laughter. When she met with Yiqing Luo's probing gaze, Enchanting subconsciously avoided it. Her actions paused. Suddenly, there was a feeling of her soul being penetrated. Yiqing Luo. Did she know something? Why was Yiqing Luo's gaze so penetrating? But when Enchanting looked over again, Yiqing Luo had already shifted her gaze away and was whispering something to the person beside her. Enchanting's fingers clenched tightly as her eyes were filled with malice. The commotion here also attracted the attention of the other academy students. Not long later, there were 5 to 6 academy students. The spacious dense forest instantly became a little narrow. When the students of the academy swarmed over, they saw this clear stream. Their eyes instantly shot out a strong glint. They couldn't wait and pounced over. There's something wrong with that stream. It will eat people. Don't go over. Enchanting wrapped her clothes tightly as she shouted at those students. She was Heavenly Academy's #1 beauty and was also known as a goddess. As such, the moment she spoke, the students from the other academies gave her face and stopped in their tracks. There's something wrong with this stream. Don't go near it. It's a stream that eats people. There are only a few students left from the Imperial College. Enchanting pointed at the students beside him. The students of Imperial College nodded. The students who rushed over were trembling in fear. How could he still dare to go in the direction of the stream? A few academy leaders walked over to Enchanting's side and inquired about the situation of the stream. For a time, the surroundings were clamorous. A large group of students were discussing spiritedly. Some of them were clamoring to look for Grandmaster Guiwu to resolve this matter. But this was what they were shouting about. However, they didn't know how to find Master Guiwu. Furthermore, he didn't have the guts to be the first person to seek out Grandmaster Ghost Marshal. Why don't we avoid this stream and get through this day and night first? Enchanting suggested. She had completely severed ties with the Heavenly Academy. The people on his side were basically dragged into the water by the stream. She was alone now. She had to rely on the other academies to leave the blazing flame nest alive. As long as she could leave this place, she could push the matter of her not being able to get the magic crystal onto Yiqing Luo. Chapter 1571. No matter what, they had to stay away from this stream. Who knew if the monster under the water would suddenly appear on the shore and forcefully pull them into the water? Thinking of what they had experienced under the water earlier, Zi Qianqian still had lingering fears. At this moment, she only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. The leaders of the few academies heard that. To be able to make Heavenly Academy's God-class students so afraid. There was definitely a huge problem with this stream. With this thought in mind, the few leaders agreed with Zi Qianqian's idea. But, in a place like the Blazing Flame Lair, they had experienced an entire 5 days of devil-like torment. When the students heard their leader telling them to leave, they were shocked. That wild beast in their hearts could no longer hold it in. What rubbish are you sprouting? I think you're obviously trying to monopolize this stream, so that Heavenly Academy's students can replenish their water, and then using this to suppress the other academies' prestige. That's right. Student Zi Qianqian, how could the stream possibly eat humans? You obviously know that the most important thing in the Blazing Flame Lair is the water source. What are you trying to achieve by spending so much effort to fabricate such a ridiculous story? There were even some students who walked directly to the stream and placed their feet into the water. After a few stirring, they felt the cold water brushing past their skin. The thirst for water in the hearts of the students grew even stronger. Moreover, after they had done all these actions, the stream was still calm without any ripples. Ha ha ha. I knew it, how could the stream possibly eat humans? We were almost cheated by that scheming woman. What number one beauty, what goddess, I think she's someone who only knows how to use that face of hers to do some despicable things. The fiercest were those female students who were extremely jealous of Zi Qianqian. Those students had already seen them getting close to the stream for almost half an incense's time. How could there be any danger? Listening to the hundreds of students chattering and ridiculing him, Zhang Xian's eyes widened. Zi Qianqian's face turned green and white. What I said is the truth. Didn't you see those few from Devil Class and Celestial Phoenix Academy, hiding far away? If you don't believe me, go and ask those few from Devil Class, they. Zi Qianqian was furious as he pointed at Yiqing Luo. But before he could finish his words, he then met with Yiqing Luo's expression, which seemed to be smiling yet not a smile. Immediately, her words were stuck in her throat. Yiqing Luo's gaze seemed to be ridiculing her. Zi Qianqian immediately recalled that not long ago, Yiqing Luo had used her actions to show that there was a problem with the stream, but she chose not to believe it and almost died under the stream. It was impossible for Yiqing Luo to help her admit it. Listening to those unbearable curses, Yi Zichen frowned. A trace of ruthlessness flashed past Zi Qianqian's eyes. She clenched her fists and was too lazy to speak again. Since those people refused to listen to his advice, there was no need for him to stop them. When they were all swallowed by the stream, they would know how to write the word death. No, we can't let them. The expressions of the students from the Imperial College changed drastically as they rushed forward. However, he was stopped by Zi Qianqian. The students of Imperial College were stunned and looked at Zi Qianqian in confusion. Then, he saw Zi Qianqian's face filled with ruthlessness. Let them go. Since they don't want to live, let them die. The students of King's College felt a chill down their spines. They subconsciously took a few steps away from Zi Qianqian. This Zi Qianqian was totally different from the rumors. What noble and aloof, what fairy-like. Her heart was actually so ruthless. Chapter 1572. A few students swarmed towards the stream. Almost impatiently, they plunged into the stream. That stream wasn't considered spacious. It was packed with people. Looking at it, it was densely packed, at least 100 over people. This was a big meal. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her fingers moved. A red feather fan appeared on her fingertips. The few people around her immediately congealed their senses and got into a state of preparation for battle. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved slightly as her ears twitched. Brothers, the hunt has begun. At the same time, a huge hole suddenly split open in the stream. It was like a bloody mouth. It was totally different from the whirlpool earlier. The stream inexplicably turned into a bloody mouth. This stance made those students who were still in the stream stunned on the spot. By the time they regained their senses, all of them wailed as they crawled towards the shore. However, the originally calm and unruffled stream. At this moment, circles of ripples appeared. The entire stream started to shake. The strong sense of collision made it impossible for the students to move forward. Ah! Something is pulling my leg. Heavens! I'm going to be bitten to death. Help, help! This stream will really eat people. The entire stream was filled with ghostly wails and wolf howls. Those students standing by the shore were dumbstruck. They couldn't react for a long time. Just now, the stream wasn't like this earlier. This bloody mouth, there was a feeling of swallowing these 100 over students in one go. After swallowing those students in the stream, wouldn't it swallow them up on shore next? Run! Quickly run! What are you all doing here? Let's hurry and run! Ghostly wails and wolf howls rang around. Sure enough, that bloody mouth appeared in the stream. It had no intention to let the students off. A mouth. Most of the students in the stream were swallowed by that bloody mouth. Many struggling students tried their best to resist. They escaped the first time. But there was no way to escape the second, third. These students had no way to get close to the shore. He was constantly being battered by the stream and was unable to exert his strength in the water. After a while, there were only a dozen or so students left in the stream. More than a dozen students screamed miserably. Heavens! What's in the water? Why does it have a mouth? This stream really knows how to eat people. The students of King's College watched as the other students were swallowed by the bloody mouth. These students could not bear to see this happen. A student of the Imperial College looked at Zi Chanchan. Goddess Zi Chanchan, didn't you just escape from the water? Use your Tian Ling staff to save those students. Didn't they say that I was lying and that I deliberately wanted to monopolize the stream? Zi Chanchan sneered. They only have themselves to blame. They can't blame anyone else. The students of Imperial College looked at Zi Chanchan strangely. Zi Chanchan's voice was not soft. The students from the other academies also heard Zi Chanchan's words. In his heart, he was filled with disdain towards Zi Chanchan's character. It was said that the #1 beauty of the Heavenly Academy was extremely talented. At such a young age, she was already at the Earth Profound realm. If there was an opportunity, it was highly possible for her to break through the Earth Profound realm and reach the Sky Profound realm. Moreover, from the mouths of the Imperial College students, they knew Zi Chanchan had just escaped from death in the stream. Which also meant that she had the ability to fight against the stream. But because those people did not believe her, were they going to watch those students die before their very eyes? Chapter 1573. Zi Chanchan thought of the scene she saw in the water. She felt her stomach churning. The more she thought about it, the more disgusted she felt. How could she be a match for the monster in the water? asking her to save the bunch of people who insulted her. Don't even think about it. Zi Qianqian had no time to care about the gazes and expressions of the students around her. She just stared at the stream, watching the students being swallowed by the bloody mouth one by one, with joy in her eyes. The surrounding students were increasingly disgusted with Zi Qianqian. Suddenly, they felt that the number one beauty of the Heavenly Academy that they were infatuated with was simply sh*t for brains. What's more, their hearts were filled with anger. They felt that they had been deceived by this vicious woman who was good at disguising herself. There were still 3 students left in the stream, and they were struggling to escape. Every time they got close to the shore, they would be directly knocked away by the huge waves. Brother, on the shore, a petite figure broke free from the crowd, pounced forward, and reached out to grab the person in the water. However, the students from the same academy immediately rushed forward and grabbed the little girl tightly. Let go of me. I want to go save my brother. Even if I die, I want to die with my brother. The little girl cried until her voice was hoarse. A young man who was struggling in the water heard the girl's voice and struggled even harder. He seemed to be encouraged by his own sister. But, no matter how hard they tried, they were still not a match for the bloody mouth. Brother! With a blood-curdling scream, the girl's limp body fell backward. He watched helplessly as the bloody mouth swallowed his brother and the other 2 students. At this moment, everyone only saw a flash of light and shadow. Immediately, they saw an extremely enchanting red light suddenly appear. Bang! A loud sound. The light landed on the water. The students could feel it. This profound energy was not strong at all. However, when the mystic light hit the bloody mouth on the surface of the water, it was like a basin. It actually forcefully split the bloody mouth into 2 halves, and also successfully stopped the speed of the bloody mouth's charge forward. The waves of the stream gradually subsided. At the same time, a white shadow swept past. With one hand, he scooped up the 3 students in the water and threw them onto the shore as if they were objects. The students saw more than 100 students die in the stream. He was thinking of running away. But he saw the stream. A figure that looked like a fairy from the 9 heavens was floating in the air. It was a beautiful girl dressed in a green and white academy uniform. Her features were exquisite, and she was devastatingly beautiful. In her small white hand, there was a red feather fan that looked like a raging flame. His fingertips moved. The feather fan released countless rays of profound light that shot toward the surface of the stream. The mysterious light struck the surface of the water. There was a splash. The entire surface of the stream rippled. The ripples spread further and further, until it was turbulent, like boiling water rolling and tumbling. The stream suddenly returned to its original tranquility. There was no more commotion. Even if Yiqing Luo used her profound energy to strike the water surface, there was not even the slightest ripple. The surrounding students looked at this scene with their mouths agape. Day. That person was Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo actually took action and saved the 3 students who were still alive. She even used her profound qi to beat the monster underwater away. The various students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo were filled with shock. Chapter 1574. Yiqing Luo's appearance made Zi Qianqian's face turn pale immediately. She looked at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. He could not believe that Yiqing Luo would actually make a move at this critical juncture. Didn't Yiqing Luo only put on a good face towards her own brothers? Other people's life and death, to Yiqing Luo, wasn't it of no importance? Why would Yiqing Luo make a move? No, there was no way he was just being kind. She didn't believe that Yiqing Luo would have such a kind heart. Under the attack of this unknown monster, he was in danger of being eaten at any moment. How could Yiqing Luo possibly stand out for these irrelevant people? Yiqing Luo must be trying to embarrass her. Yiqing Luo did this in order to be in the limelight, to let the various academies' students worship and revere her. Thus, she, the #1 beauty, would be degraded. That's right. That must be it. Zi Qianshan's heart was gradually distorted. Yiqing Luo quietly looked at the calm water surface. However, his heart was unable to calm down. She knew that the monster had never left. By not moving, he was letting them leave. Or was he thinking of other ways to deal with these students? Student Yiqing Luo, thank you. Thank you for saving my brother, thank you. He could hear the sound of a girl crying tears of joy. She knelt down with a thud, her face full of tears. Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment but quickly regained her senses as she immediately helped that girl up. The girl was about 14 or 15 years old. She looked very sweet and lovely, with beautiful clear eyes. It was obvious that it was a flower that had grown in a greenhouse. Go take care of your brother first, he drank too much water from the stream and we have to drain all that water out. Yiqing Luo took a look at the young man who had already fallen into a coma. She was not a kind-hearted person. Indeed, he wouldn't be so bored as to help a stranger. However, these students were, after all, students from the various academies. If something were to happen, Gue Wu would have to bear the responsibility. In any case, Gue Wu and Zhou Mo had protected Long Yunzhan and his brothers when they were at the foundation grounds. She had to return the favor, didn't she? Moreover, if she were to make a move now, these students would change their opinion of her. At that time, if the dark forces made any moves, she would be able to calm the students down. Even if he couldn't fight with her. But at least he wouldn't be a burden to her. Of course, he couldn't say this out loud. In front of her life, Yiqing Luo still had the mood to calculate these twists and turns. But at this critical juncture, her mind was still able to think calmly and make the most accurate decision in the shortest time possible. Actually, the most important point was, it was because of that girl. When he heard the little girl crying for her brother and wanting to die together with him, he felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo's heart, because of the sibling relationship between this girl and her brother, seemed to have been touched by something. Looking at her unconscious brother, the girl looked at Yiqing Luo helplessly. Student Yiqing Luo, I don't know how to help my brother drain the water out. Can you teach me? Looking at those watery eyes, Yi Zichen felt a chill down his spine. Yiqing Luo inexplicably thought of her own cat. She nodded. He taught the girl how to expel the water from her body in a concise and comprehensive manner. After a while, the young man coughed out a large amount of water from the stream and woke up. The girl's eyes were misty with tears as she pounced into the young man's arms, hugging his neck tightly. Brother, you're finally awake, sob sob sob. You're finally awake. The matter over here was settled and the 3 students who were saved were all awake. Chapter 1575. You guys leave first. Yiqing Luo stood up as she slowly walked towards that stream. Seeing Yiqing Luo's actions, those students who couldn't wait to leave the stream let out a cry of shock. They all sucked in a breath of cold air. Earlier the young girl cried out anxiously, Student Yiqing Luo, be careful. Yiqing Luo only curled her lips as she continued walking. Until she stopped by the stream. Those students subconsciously took a few steps back. Some of them felt their legs wobbling as they wanted to take the opportunity to escape this godforsaken place. But looking at that peerless young lady's figure standing by the stream. Inexplicably, their hearts surged with the intention of submitting. They submitted to Yiqing Luo's calm and unperturbed aura. As though, as long as this young lady was around, they didn't need to escape. Not knowing why, they had this kind of feeling. A few Devil class students followed closely behind her. Qing Luo, what do you want to do? Long Yun Zhan's deep and cold voice rang. Yi Qing Luo looked at that still stream. I'll go down to take a look. You guys wait here for me temporarily. If there's any accident, protect these students and leave. I'll accompany you down. Long Yun Zhan frowned. I'll be fine alone. Yi Qing Luo rejected. I can roughly guess what this is. Don't worry, I have Qi Yan and Shi Ju around so nothing will happen. Long Yun Zhan pursed his lips as the expression on his face was apparently filled with displeasure and disapproval. No way. Student Yi Qing Luo, you can't go down, it's too dangerous. That girl also heard Yi Qing Luo and Devil class's students' conversation as she immediately rejected. That stream could move in such a short period of time. Swallowed over 100 students. And looking at the surroundings, there were quite a number of academy students, but there were only 10 over or even a few people left. Apparently they had all been eaten by this stream. The girl's eyes were filled with worry. She rushed forward as she grabbed Yi Qing Luo's sleeve tightly. Yi Qing Luo had just saved her brother. She was her life's savior. She couldn't watch Yi Qing Luo send herself to death. Looking at the little girl's teary eyes, she was concerned for her from the bottom of her heart. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed. She reached out and rubbed the little girl's head. There are no traces of blood on the surface of the water, nor is there any smell of blood. It is very likely that the students who were swallowed into the water are not in danger. At least 400 students have been swallowed underwater. If we leave now, it is very likely that these 400 students will lose their lives here. If I go down there, it's very possible that I'll be able to save them. Yi Qing Luo's voice was very gentle. To a girl who treated her sincerely. Yi Qing Luo had always been more gentle. And these words were heard by the students of the various academies. Immediately, a feeling of shock welled up in his heart. The terror of this stream. Everyone had witnessed it with their own eyes. If they could, they would rather have never been near the stream. This was a stream that could eat people. But Yi Qing Luo was willing to get into the water to save the other students. Without a doubt. Yi Qing Luo's actions had completely changed the views of various academy students towards her. The jealousy and hatred from before. At this moment, it had already been replaced by worship and respect. Just under the students' reverent gazes, Yi Qing Luo leapt up and dived into the water without any hesitation. Chapter 1576. The various academy students didn't have any thoughts of escaping at all. All of them stared at the surface of the stream as their hearts were in a mess, feeling extremely uneasy. The water's surface was calm, as though it had stopped. This made the students extremely anxious. She actually went down like that. Is she looking for death? Didn't you hear what she said, that she wanted to save those students who had been dragged into the water? This is an action of courting death. What courting death? Goddess Qing Luo's domineering action has completely captivated me all right. She's too cool. That's right, that's right. Although I know Goddess Qing Luo is a lady, but this heart of mine can't help but pound wildly. This is a true expert. He can put himself in danger for the sake of insignificant people. Not only unimportant, you must know, those students who had been dragged into the water had been criticizing Devil class quite a number of times, and had secretly scolded Yi Qing Luo. Right, and now all the various academies are in a competitive relationship. But our goddess Qing Luo, disregarding the past, still went into the water without hesitation. This is the real goddess. My idol will be Goddess Qing Luo in future. The group of fangirls had completely turned into Yi Qing Luo's brainless fans, as they kept on shouting. The other academy's students all nodded in agreement. One had to say, Yiqing Luo's move. It was simply too much to attract fans. After all, in this world, other than the strong being revered, one needed absolute convincing charisma. Yiqing Luo now completely possessed the two attributes of being a strong person and charisma. And these students' words, no doubt, were slapping Zi Qianqian's face repeatedly. The sound of the slaps on the face was loud and clear. The various fangirls, those words. Weren't they ridiculing Zi Qianqian for being narrow-minded? Look, the various academy's students often insulted Devil Class, and had never given Yiqing Luo a good face. But when Yiqing Luo faced human lives, she still disregarded the past enmity, risking her own life to save those students. Looking at Zi Qianqian again. Those students just didn't believe her words. In a moment of desperation, her words were slightly harsh. Zi Qianqian wanted the lives of those students. When the lives of his students were at stake, he even mocked them for asking for it. TSK, such an obvious contrast. Zi Qianqian's complexion was a mixture of green and red. His hands, which were hidden under his robe, were tightly clenched into a bowl. However, no one was willing to get close to her. He's just playing to the gallery. What's so great about it? Zi Qianqian did his best to maintain his usual arrogance, and coldly sneered, I know best what kind of ability she has. Even the Tianling staff can't do anything to that underwater monster. She's just a 4th-grade Earth Profound practitioner, and she wants to subdue that monster. It would have been better if Zi Qianqian had remained silent. His words aroused the anger of the crowd. These students had already placed all their hopes on Yiqing Luo. All of them were praying for Yiqing Luo to create a miracle. Zi Qianqian was still making sarcastic remarks at the side, provoking them. Since you're so powerful, why don't you go into the water if you can? What number 1 beauty? What class of gods? Tui. The crowd's eyes are sharp. During this period of time, Devil Class's performance is obvious to all. What class of gods? They're not even fit to carry Devil Class's shoes. You all. Zi Qianqian was used to being arrogant. No matter what, it was always the lackeys beside her who helped her to fight back. Right now, she was being berated by the students one after another. The red feather fan in his hand swept up a beam of mysterious light and directly entered the bloody mouth. Then, her body was like a nimble fish in the water, constantly moving. The profound energy in his body did not slow down in the slightest just because he was underwater. Boom, 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 all of a sudden, the entire stream shook violently. A terrifying whirlwind swept up the stream water. Bang, bang, bang. That whirlwind fell onto the enchantment which Yiqing Luo had conjured using the glower flame fan. At the same time she released her profound energy and entered that bloody mouth. Thus, she formed a barrier for herself. Chapter 1578. I guessed it right. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as a cold smile appeared on her lips. This stream was not a stream at all. It was obviously the stomach of this magical beast. This magical beast's IQ was obviously very high. And it was very patient. Yiqing Luo had to deliberately pretend that she had been in the water for too long and was exhausted, thus she managed to lure this magical beast out. This demonic beast would use such a method of pretending to be a stream to trick students into taking the bait. It was obvious that this magical beast did not have any attack ability. Apart from that sharp mouth of his. Yiqing Luo specially tried it once. He struck his own profound qi into that bloody mouth. Sure enough, it stirred up the entire stream. In other words, She was now in the stomach of this magical beast. After confirming this point, Yiqing Luo was already full of confidence in this magical beast. That bloody mouth turned around and tried to escape when it sensed Yiqing Luo's counterattack. But Yiqing Luo's speed, even in the water, was extremely fast. The glower flame fan in her hand had once again stirred up a wave of water. Mixed with the profound energy of the sky profound realm, it directly covered that bloody mouth. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo leaped. She lifted her foot and stepped on that big mouth. The glowing flame fan in his hand ruthlessly smashed down in the direction of the sharp teeth on the bloody mouth. Female hero, spare me. Female hero, spare me. Suddenly, that bloody mouth opened and closed with difficulty. A magical voice, similar to a robot's voice, came out from that bloody mouth. Yiqing Luo's slender brows raised slightly. This thing could speak human language? Female hero, spare me. I dare not to eat people anymore. I dare not. The bloody mouth was still opening and closing, looking extremely comical. Yiqing Luo stopped her action. She took a step back and raised her eyebrows at the big mouth in front of her. It really is a strange beast. The big mouth seemed to be stunned. It did not expect Yiqing Luo to call out its name clearly. Strange beast. It was somewhat similar to a chameleon. It could change into the corresponding thing according to the surrounding environment. It sounded like this function was very heaven-defying. But in fact, this function had no other use other than to save lives. The worst part was, the meat of the mutated beasts. His favorite food was meat. However, as an aberration without the ability to attack, the aberration was extremely powerful. The mutant beast expressed that even eating grass would be a problem, let alone eating meat. Where are my classmates? Yiqing Luo glanced coldly at that mouth which she couldn't bear to look at. The mutated beast fell silent for a moment. Until he sensed the murderous intent in Yiqing Luo's eyes. It stuttered and cried, "It's in my stomach. I haven't eaten it yet. You should at least leave 10 for me." Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Aberration wanted to cry but no tears came out. Then, what about those 3? Yiqing Luo continued to raise her brows. 1. I only need 1. I haven't tasted meat in years. At the very least, let me have a taste of meat. The mutant gritted its teeth and made its final compromise. Yiqing Luo gave a fake smile. Not one of my classmates can be missing. The mutated beast wailed. Damn it. There was no justice in this world. Bullying a beast without the ability to attack like this. Really good. In the end, under Yiqing Luo's coercion. Chapter 1579. This time round, there were at least 400 students who had been tricked into the stomach of the strange beast. These students were shrouded in a sticky membrane. Looking at it with the naked eye, it looked like a bubble. It enveloped those 400 over students within it. Some of the students were sitting, some were lying down, some were standing. They had been soaked in water for a long time. These students' energy had long been depleted. Even with the protection of this membrane. The air which the students breathed in was getting thinner and thinner. They had no way to escape this membrane. They could only feel their energy gradually leaving their bodies. Their consciousness slowly drifted away. They could only wait for death. Waiting for death in this kind of despair. But they suddenly heard someone's voice. They heard someone asking about my classmates. Their hearts inexplicably surged with a surge of hope. Someone was here to save them. Finally, someone was here to save them. That sentence, "Not one of my classmates can be missing," deeply shocked them. That person. Who on earth was she? Why? Her words had a kind of magical power, making them on the verge of death. They all had the belief that they could live on. The 400 over students mustered up their last bit of energy. Indeed, they saw outside the membrane a slender figure, slowly approaching them. Just one person. Just one person. From the voice earlier, it seemed to be a lady. It was just a lady, and she wanted to save them all by herself. Just as everyone's mind was filled with different thoughts. A lady's clear and melodious voice rang beside their ears. Don't be afraid, I'm here to pick you all up. Just a few simple words. It made these 400 over students feel increasingly shocked. Instantly, their eyes turned red. They had a feeling of wanting to cry. The students were all shocked. But this strange beast which had been subdued by Yi-Ching Luo, had tears streaming down its face. It had finally met a group of silly young humans. It was not easy for it to catch a pile of food. It had not expected. It had been kicked to the cold bench. The food was gone. Its life was still in danger. He didn't know if this heroine would spare its life on account of the fact that it hadn't hurt anyone yet. The mutated beast was still grieving in its heart. A light voice floated into his ears, "Aren't you going to send my classmates ashore?" The mutant's mouth trembled. This lowly one will give it to you right now." Then, he stuck out his tongue from his big mouth. He licked the thin film reluctantly. In the end, he let out a sobbing sound and threw the students onto the shore in grief. The bloody mouth swayed its tongue as it twisted towards Yi-Ching Luo. "Female hero, I have already followed your instructions and sent the food. Cough, all of your classmates to the shore, can you? It wanted to plead. But seeing Yi-Ching Luo's expression, which seemed like a smile yet not a smile. No matter what, he couldn't bring himself to plead for leniency. "Heroine, can you not laugh? When you smile, this lowly one is scared." Being an aberration beast was really painful. Woo, woo, woo. Are you a magical beast released by the ghost warrior, or are you a magical beast that lives in the flame nest? Yi-Ching Luo picked her ears. It was really unbearable to hear this strange beast howling like a pig being slaughtered. The strange beast was stunned. It immediately replied, "This lowly one has been in the flame nest since birth. I have lived for 800 years. Till now, I haven't even eaten a bite of meat. Absolutely a kind and adorable little beast." Chapter 1580. Hearing the strange beast's description of itself, Yi-Ching Luo's lips twitched a few times. Kind. Hee. It was obviously cowardly and incompetent. Cute. Hee. How was it cute when it had such a big bloody mouth and sharp teeth? The strange beast was still wailing about its 800 years of miserable deeds. His cries were filled with pain and sorrow. It was even more pitiful than the lines where there were old people and young children. Yi-Ching Luo rubbed her aching brows as she raised her hand to stop the strange beast's torrent of words. It wasn't a magical beast released by ghost martial artist. Even if it was killed, it wouldn't be able to obtain the magic crystal. Yi-Ching Luo couldn't be bothered to waste any more time. "You're lucky to have met me this time. I advise you to stay calm for the next 2 days. If you alarm Gue Wu and Zhou Mo, you'll be hacked into 1,000 pieces and turned into food for others due to the fact that you've kidnapped over 400 students." The strange beast expressed, "How could it be considered lucky to meet a heroine like you?" As though she could read the strange beast's thoughts, Yi-Ching Luo immediately continued, "We will at most stay till the day after tomorrow before we leave the blazing flame nest. After that, however you want to seduce other students, you can do so." The strange beast's eyes were misty with tears. Sob, so it wasn't staying in the blazing flame nest for long. After the heroine left, it could still eat meat. Yiqing Luo looked at that big bloody mouth which kept swaying its tongue and frowned as she turned around and swam towards the shore. The strange beast hurriedly chased after her. Heroine, that. You will leave the day after tomorrow, then. That bunch of black-robed people, when will they leave? Black-robed people. Yiqing Luo's movements paused. She knew that the strange beast was referring to those people from the dark forces. Had they really entered the blazing flame nest? Were they preparing to carry out the plan? How long has that group of people been in the blazing flame nest? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she asked. The strange beast replied, "It seems like a few months ago, there were dozens of people dressed in black robes and emitting black qi." Pausing for a moment, it thought of something. That's right, there seemed to be another few hundred people who entered last night. A few months ago. It seemed to be when the prophecy of the blazing flame nest descending into the world spread throughout Nirvana realm. At that time, the dark forces had infiltrated the fire lair. The profound practitioners who were attracted by the prophecy would be absorbed by the flame beasts. Then, hundreds of people came last night. Is the plan of the Wolf Saint technique and the Heavenly Dean ready to be implemented? Heroine, do you want to know the whereabouts of those people? This lowly one can help you lock onto the target. The mutated beast said fawningly. That tone. It was as if it was telling Yiqing Luo, this beastie is very cute and obedient, and can even be a scouting device. Such a good beastie, you absolutely cannot kill it. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. Mutated beast, if you obediently help me, I guarantee that you'll be able to eat delicious meat tomorrow. She smiled like a strange auntie who had kidnapped a little girl, and there was a hint of slyness flowing between her eyebrows. The bloody mouth took a few steps back. Immediately after, he braced himself and said, "Whatever orders you have, I will definitely obey." Bang, 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 several heavy objects fell to the ground. The students who were still poking their heads out from the shore and staring at the calm water were startled. Following that, they saw something popping out from the water. The students screamed, thinking that it was the monster in the water. Until the students landed on the shore one by one. They then reacted. Chapter 1581. There were quite a number of students present who more or less knew some simple medical skills. And earlier Yiqing Luo had taught them how to expel the water from their bodies. The students on the shore suddenly formed a tacit understanding. They started to carry out the simplest treatment for those students who were saved in an orderly manner. The young girl who had been taking care of her brother saw those students who were sucked into the water being sent back to the shore. She rushed forward anxiously and grabbed the collar of one of the students who had undergone simple treatment. "Where's student Yiqing Luo? She saved you guys, then what about her? How is she?" That student was still in a daze. But after the treatment, he had regained some rationality. Hearing the girl's culture, the student went into a slight blank. What? You said Yiqing Luo saved us. Other than her, who else has that kind of ability? The girl's face turned pale as her little hand increased the strength. Quickly tell us. Student Yiqing Luo, how is she? The student coughed violently. I don't know. She asked that magical beast in the water to send us up and we were thrown up. She seems to be still down there, fighting with that magical beast. What? The girl fell onto the ground in shock, her face pale. Their conversation. The surrounding people heard it clearly. Those students who were saved were unable to conceal the shock and trembling in their hearts. The person who saved them was actually Yiqing Luo. That young lady who had always been insulted and ridiculed by them because of jealousy and envy. In the past, when they heard Yiqing Luo's name, they would sneer and scold her as trash. But today, They were saved by trash. By the side of their ears, a lady's light and sweet-sounding voice which was filled with a convincing magical power was still ringing. She said, "My classmates, not a single one can be missing." She said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here to pick you up." This gave them a huge amount of confidence. A voice which reassured them. It actually came from Yiqing Luo's mouth. Obviously, they had nothing to do with each other. Obviously, they were enemies. But Yiqing Luo saved them. Listening to the girl's soft sobbing, calling out, "Student Yiqing Luo." These rescued students were also filled with a sense of guilt from the bottom of their hearts. They simply didn't know how Yiqing Luo was now. At the bottom of the water, due to their exhaustion and the thinning air, their consciousness became more and more unclear. Not long after, he was thrown to the shore. "I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Suddenly, a lady who was being treated sat up straight and her shrill voice was extremely ear-piercing. "How would that slut Yiqing Luo possibly know how to save people? You're talking nonsense. With so many pairs of eyes watching, how can it be fake?" The sobbing girl's eyes were red as she stared angrily at that woman. "Student Su Xiaoyan, student Yiqing Luo risked her life to save you, yet you don't know how to be grateful and even insulted student Yiqing Luo, you will suffer retribution." Su Xiaoyan's expression was ferocious. Who doesn't know how dangerous this stream is? Why would she go into the water to save us? It was Goddess Qianqian who saved us, right? It's Goddess Qianqian. Her eyes darted around. On the other side of the stream, he saw Zi Qianqian standing alone. The voice stopped abruptly. "Zi Qianqian saved us." "Pooey." A male student with a hoarse voice struggled to get up. "Just now, when that monster was about to suck us into the water, I risked my life to protect her. It was not easy to send her to the shore, but she actually used her Tianling staff to send me flying." Chapter 1582. Hearing Lu Moyuan's words, Zi Qianqian's face instantly turned pale. The few King Academy students beside her opened their eyes wide. They stared fiercely at Zi Qianqian, unable to believe that this #1 beauty whom their boss doted on wholeheartedly would be so vicious to sacrifice Lu Moyuan's life for her own survival. Lu Moyuan was their own boss. They were courteous to Zi Qianqian because of Lu Moyuan's face. At this moment, hearing Lu Moyuan's words, how could they possibly endure it? Walking up in quick steps, she tore off the King Academy's uniform which Zi Qianqian was wearing. Her strength was so strong that it directly tore off Zi Qianqian's wet clothes. A red hood appeared in front of everyone's eyes. More than half of her fair skin was exposed. Zi Qianqian hadn't even had the chance to react, only to hear a loud paw sound. One of the King Academy's students directly gave Zi Qianqian a tight slap on her face. "You slut!" Zi Qianqian was stunned from the slap. This slap was extremely heavy. The corner of her mouth was bleeding. Her beautiful face was red and swollen. You dare to hit me!" Zi Qianqian covered her face filled with resentment. "I'm hitting you, stinky female whore." The King Academy's students hadn't calmed down as he raised his palm and was about to strike. "Enough!" Lu Moyuan shouted sternly. This shout made his throat itch as he started coughing violently. The few King Academy students couldn't be bothered about Zi Qianqian as they hurriedly ran towards the opposite side of the stream to take care of their boss. Whereas the students who stood on Zi Qianqian's side, all looked at her with disdain. Such an extremely vicious woman who repaid kindness with ingratitude. They didn't want to provoke her. Seeing her being hit, the students only had one word in their hearts. That was, awesome. Devil classes students stood by the shore as they lowered their heads to look at the calm water surface. Their expressions were calm, no, more accurately, they were expressionless. If it wasn't for the anxiety in their eyes. The students all thought that these people weren't worried about Yiqing Luo's safety at all. Only thing was, they didn't enter the water to save Yiqing Luo. That young girl whose eyes were red from crying, carefully walked towards them, looking at Long Yunjian whose face was filled with a gloomy and cold aura. This student. You're student Yiqing Luo's brothers, can you? Can you? She clenched her fists, and there was a hint of determination in her eyes. Can you bring me into the water? The icy flames on Long Yunjian's body instantly stopped. The other students from the devil class also looked over in astonishment as they looked at this little girl who was obviously trembling in fear but was still extremely stubborn. They thought that this girl wanted them to go into the water to save Yiqing Luo. He didn't expect that he wanted to save Yiqing Luo. It seemed that this lass had wanted to die with her brother just now. She was a loyal and affectionate girl. Little sister, don't worry. Yan Xiaoyi touched the little girl's head. Since Qing Luo asked us to stay here, she must have absolute confidence. What we need to do is to believe in her. But. Yan Xiaoyi squatted down and looked at this adorable girl in front of her as she couldn't help but pinched her face. Believe in sister's words, and also believe in Qing Luo. This lass and Mo Yuing were the same type. But unfortunately, Mo Yuing, that fellow, always had a straight face, as though she was a soulless puppet. Chapter 1583. Just at this moment, the water's surface suddenly started to churn. Following that, they saw a figure drilling out from the water. The crowd cried out in shock as they stared at the direction of the stream with their eyes wide open. Qing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo. The continuous exclamations were accompanied by the joyful and excited shouts of countless students. That young lady who appeared from the water was dressed in a green and white long robe. Under the contrast of the water, it looked like the reflection of water. Coming out from the water should have looked extremely disheveled. But unfortunately, Yiqing Luo didn't look like she was soaked in water at all. If it wasn't for the fact that she had personally emerged from the water. If it wasn't for the fact that the water droplets were faintly dripping down from her head. The students all thought that Yiqing Luo had just returned from a leisurely stroll. As though she heard the noisy surrounding and many people were shouting her name, Yiqing Luo turned her gaze over. She met with those pairs of worshipful and reverent gazes. Some of the female students even screamed uncontrollably. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. What was wrong with these students? From the emotions in their eyes, Yiqing Luo couldn't see any feigned reverence. That fiery gaze. It was as though it was going to burn her up. She had only gone into the water. These students were so passionate towards her. If she knew this method was so useful, she would have used it earlier. Qing Luo, are you all right? Long Yunjian went up to support Yiqing Luo's arm. Yiqing Luo's clothes were wet and extremely sticky to her hands. Long Yunjian's nose twitched as he smelled the smell of the stream water on Yiqing Luo's body as his brows creased slightly. This smell. You're right. Yiqing Luo pushed his hand away as she rubbed her hands helplessly. I'm fine, don't worry. I've already saved all the students in the water. Do a head count and see if anyone is missing. Saying that, she tugged at the wet clothes on her body agitatedly. I'll go change my clothes first, it's simply too disgusting. Looking at Yiqing Luo's escaping figure, the students fell into silence. Disgusting. Yiqing Luo didn't look like she had gone through a tough battle. Could it be that the monster under the stream looked extremely ferocious and disgusting? With this question in mind, the students still organized their classmates and began to do a head count. Amidst the chaos, Su Xiaoyan struggled to leave everyone's support and rushed to Zi Qianqian's side. Su Xiaolian frowned as she looked at Zi Qianqian, whose face was ashen and whose eyes were filled with hatred. In the end, he suppressed the displeasure in his heart and grabbed Zi Qianqian's wrist. Goddess Qianqian, let's take this opportunity to leave this place. Paw! Zi Qianqian gave Su Xiaolian a backhand slap. A pair of scarlet eyes shot out in extremely frightening ruthlessness. Bitch! If not for you. If it wasn't for you, how could I? How could he have been slapped by trash from another academy in front of so many people? Who was she? She was the #1 beauty of the Heavenly Academy. They were students from the class of gods. He was an existence that everyone should respect. He had actually been slapped in the face by a trash from another academy. This slap did not just hit her face. It was her future. Everything of hers. How was she going to face anyone in the future and walk in the pugilistic world? It was all Su Xiaolian's fault. Chapter 1584. Even after being rescued, he still didn't know how to live peacefully. Why did he have to push the blame onto her? If it weren't for Su Xiaolian's blabbermouth, how could she have been slapped like that? No matter how arrogant and noble Zi Qianqian usually was, he was not a match for him. But she was only a 17 or 18-year-old girl after all. Especially since he was used to being flattered. Her temperament was extremely unstable. It was just a slap, but it had completely destroyed the wall she had built in her heart over the years. At this moment, Zi Qianqian's face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with ferocity. That slap had caused a huge commotion. Many students had already cast their gazes over. She saw the fiendish Zi Qianqian roaring hysterically at Su Xiaolian. Their eyes were filled with ridicule, and no one was willing to step forward to mediate. Instead, he was extremely interested in this dog-eat-dog drama. Zi Qianqian's slap caused blood to flow from the corner of Su Xiaolian's mouth. Her eyes reddened. Listening to Zi Qianqian's hysterical curses, Zhang Xian's eyes widened. Su Xiaolian's heart was filled with disdain. If it wasn't for the fact that Zi Qianqian was as dumb as a pig, being toyed around by Yiqing Luo. How could Zi Qianqian have fallen to such a state? It was clearly his own incompetence. Yet, he had pushed all the blame onto her. However, even if there were many dissatisfaction in his heart, he even wanted to personally kill Zi Qianqian. However, when she thought of the reason why she wanted to please Zi Qianqian, she forcefully endured it. No matter how useless Zi Qianqian was, she was still a student of the class of gods. Moreover, the Zi Qianqian clan was extremely powerful. If she wanted to stay in the Heavenly Academy, she must suck up to Zi Qianqian. Goddess Qianqian, that bitch won't be able to see tomorrow's sun. Why do you have to be angry with someone who's about to die? Su Xiaolian persuaded in a soft voice, if we stay here now, we'll just be a joke to these blind people. Why don't we find our partner and discuss how to make that bitch die a more painful death? When Zi Qianqian heard this, the resentment in his eyes faded a little. That's right. She wanted Yiqing Luo to die in even more agony. Let Yiqing Luo die in a state of agony worse than death, in despair. She was going to find that mysterious woman. Advance their plans. Just at this moment, the two of them heard those students calling out respectfully, "Student Yiqing Luo." That respectful look. Even when facing her, it had never happened before. Zi Qianqian saw this and clenched his fists even tighter. Across the stream, Yiqing Luo changed into a clean uniform and held a large handkerchief in one hand as she wiped her wet hair. It was obvious that he had taken a bath. All the students' attention were placed on Yiqing Luo. He had totally not thought about where Yiqing Luo would find water to bathe in such a dehydrated place like the blazing flame nest. The current Yi Qing Luo was dressed in a clean and refreshing green and white uniform, with a head of jet black hair dripping with water droplets. Along the way, he left a wet trail on the ground. She looked even more stunning than the Empyrean fairy. Momentarily, all the students' gazes were staring at Yi Qing Luo in a daze, unable to regain their senses for some time. Until Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly. "Have you all counted the number of people?" The students suddenly came back to their senses. Their faces flushed red as they hurriedly replied, "Our academy's students have all been rescued." "The same goes for our academy." "Us too." It seemed that all the students had been rescued. Chapter 1585. It's just a little magical beast that can only transform. It's already been tamed, so it's all right. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand as she replied disapprovingly. When the students heard that, the admiration they had for Yi Qing Luo was like an endless torrential river water. Those students who were lying on the ground, still recuperating, were also filled with admiration for Yi Qing Luo. That monster which had pulled nearly 400 over students into the water, almost losing their lives. In Yi Qing Luo's mouth, it was just a little magical beast, and it was easily tamed. How could they not admire Yi Qing Luo? Yi Qing Luo's ability was actually so strong. No wonder even that hypocritical vicious woman in the class of gods couldn't defeat Yi Qing Luo. If Yi Qing Luo knew what the students were thinking about, she would probably burst out laughing. The mutated beast was a small magical beast that didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. The reason why these students were caught was because the strange beast used a scheme, making use of the students' fear towards the unknown, taking advantage of the situation. Madame Qing Luo has tamed that magical beast, then this stream. Can we? Some students carefully asked the question which all the students wanted to ask in their hearts. The rarest thing in the blazing flame nest was water. If it wasn't for water, they couldn't possibly fall into such a predicament. The magical beast had already been tamed, so if they were to get close to the stream, would they be fine? With this thought in mind, the crowd's hopeful gazes all turned towards Yi Qing Luo. This. Yi Qing Luo touched her head, as her face revealed some hesitation. Zi Qianqian, who was opposite, snorted coldly as his brows were filled with disdain. "I think she didn't tame that monster at all, just trying to show off in front of everyone." "Slut! You shut up." The moment the students heard Zi Qianqian's voice, they started to berate her sternly. But the gazes which the crowd shot towards Yi Qing Luo were filled with doubts. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at Zi Qianqian, who was standing opposite the stream. The corners of her lips curled into a chilly arc. Her long and narrow eyes were curved, revealing a ridiculing intent. It was just a light smile. It made the surrounding air seem to condense. The students even controlled the sound of their breathing very carefully. For a time, the entire fire lair returned to silence. After some time, Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she slowly walked towards that stream. "Whether you want to drink or bathe in this stream, it's up to you." Yi Qing Luo's chilly voice was like pearls falling on a plate, word by word, spitting out from her mouth. His tone was calm and emotionless. The students from the various academies looked at each other. They wanted to drink from the stream. He also wanted to take a bath. However, after experiencing Zi Qianqian's questioning, the air suddenly turned cold. None of them dared to take the first step. Zi Qianqian couldn't bear to see Yi Qing Luo in the limelight and had a feeling that they would perish together. With a ferocious expression, she gritted her teeth and strode towards the stream. "I want to see if you've really tamed that monster." However, Zi Qianqian had also learned to be smarter. He opened his palm and took out the Tianling staff. Holding the Tianling staff, she dived into the stream. He stirred his staff a few times. The Tianling staff was a divine weapon. Naturally, it could sense the intention of submission from the strange beast. This feeling was also transmitted to Enchanting. Enchanting's expression changed slightly as he kept the Tianling staff. Yiqing Luo actually tamed that monster. That monster was not even afraid of the Tianling staff. Chapter 1586. These questions, no matter how hard she racked her head, she couldn't think of an answer. Enchanting simply couldn't be bothered to think further. She still had to stay in the blazing flame nest for the night. It was impossible for Yiqing Luo to pass her the food and water bag. She had to prepare her own water bag for the night. Tomorrow morning, everything that happened today would come to an end. With this thought in mind, Enchanting took out the empty water bag and filled it to the brim. Yiqing Luo, you're deliberately mystifying, trying to monopolize this stream. I'm not going to let you have it. She stuffed the water bag into her realm ring and drank several mouthfuls of the stream water in front of Yiqing Luo. Following that, she stood up. Just at this moment, Enchanting's sleeves fluttered and a burst of profound qi shot out from her palm. That palm wind blew up the surrounding trees. In a split second, dust billowed, sand and stones flew. Those trees were uprooted, and the gravel on the ground fell into the stream. The crystal-clear stream. It was extremely dirty. There was no way to drink this stream. Enchanting. You. Those students were flustered and exasperated, pointing at Enchanting. They couldn't wait to pounce on her and dismember her into pieces. That was the only stream in the blazing flame nest. The only source of water. And it was destroyed by Enchanting just like that. Enchanting, you slut. Too vicious. Enchanting's actions had completely aroused everyone's anger. Just as everyone was filled with righteous indignation, some of the rash students were about to rush over to press Enchanting down and beat her up. A clear voice rang, so what if it's destroyed, anyway this stream isn't real. The students were stunned. They looked towards the direction of the voice. Boss Qing Luo, what do you mean? What did she mean by this stream wasn't real? You should be glad that you didn't drink this stream. Yiqing Luo's smiling eyes congealed on the complacent Enchanting. Enchanting spat coldly, deliberately mystifying. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms and walked towards the stream. Following that, she lifted her leg and kicked the water surface. That stream, at the instant when Yiqing Luo touched it, gradually disappeared. Vaguely, under the cover of the tree trunk, the students could vaguely see the stream. It was a little red. They were like pieces of bloody meat. However, upon closer inspection, the place where the stream used to be had turned into a flat road. If it weren't for the fallen trees on the ground, the middle school students would have thought that everything that had just happened was just a dream. What's going on? Where's the stream? How did it disappear? Did you see that? When the stream disappeared, I think I saw something that looked like a piece of meat. Right. Why do I feel like it's some kind of internal organ? The students discussed among themselves with lingering fear. What you said is right. Yiqing Luo's calm voice interrupted the students' suspicions. She smiled faintly, and her gaze swept across the surrounding students before finally landing on Enchanting. This stream is transformed from that little magical beast's body. This stream is that little magical beast's internal organs, and that stream water is the water in that little magical beast's stomach. Oh right, this little magical beast likes to hide its own excrement in its body, so that it can transform into a longer stream, to cheat you kids who want to drink water. Yiqing Luo's voice had just landed. Sounds of vomiting could be heard from the surroundings. The students' faces turned pale as they held onto their chests and vomited violently. Damn it! Water in the stomach. Excrement. Chapter 1587. Especially those 400 over students who were sucked into the water, they vomited to their heart's content. You're lying. Enchanting's little face turned pale as she covered her throat with one hand and staggered backwards. Impossible. How could this water be fake? This must be a lie that Yiqing Luo purposely wanted to tease her and scare her. Yiqing Luo raised her brows with a smile which didn't look like a smile, then. Just treat it as if I'm lying to you. You. Enchanting was so angry that she almost vomited blood. What did she mean by treat it as if she was lying to her? This was originally a lie. She didn't believe it. She absolutely wouldn't believe it. Enchanting kept reminding herself in her heart. But in her heart, she couldn't control it at this moment. She chose to believe Yiqing Luo's words. Ugh, Enchanting really couldn't bear with the surging of her stomach. She bent over and vomited in big mouthfuls. Looking at Enchanting and Su Xiaolian vomiting as they left in a sorry state. Those students who originally felt disgusted couldn't help but burst out laughing. Hundreds of people's laughter was extremely loud. Even though Enchanting and Su Xiaolian had walked far away, they could still hear their laughter. Qing Luo, that stream, is really the excrement of magical beasts. Yan Xiaoyi leaned close to Yiqing Luo as she asked with a grin. All the students pricked up their ears. Yiqing Luo nodded. How would a kind, gentle and honest girl like me lie to her? Devil classes students' faces were filled with black lines. All the students continued to vomit. At this moment, the atmosphere had also gradually lightened up. Luckily, this accident didn't cause any danger to the students. Yiqing Luo took a look at the students from the various academies who were enjoying themselves. Seeing that everyone had completely escaped from danger, she prepared to lead the devil classes students to leave. Before she could even bid farewell to the students, two figures knelt down in front of Yiqing Luo with a thud. Yiqing Luo recognized that this was the girl who wanted to die together with her brother earlier. Student Yiqing Luo, thank you. Thank you for saving my brother, saving our Qian Kun Academy students. The girl's eyes were red as she looked at Yiqing Luo gratefully. Beside her was her brother, who had just escaped death in the water. The young man who had changed into clean clothes and taken care of himself looked quite handsome. Qiankun Academy. Yiqing Luo searched for the name of this school in her heart. Although this academy was a third-tier academy, it was considered one of the best among third-tier academies. This was especially so for students who graduated from Qiankun Academy. Not to mention becoming a celebrity in Nirvana realm like the Heavenly Academy. But at the very least, they had some small achievements. Universe Academy's students immediately walked up and knelt down in rows in front of Yiqing Luo. Many thanks to student Yiqing Luo for lending a helping hand. Our brother Shi's life was saved by you. Qiankun Academy will owe you a favor. Qiankun Academy had a total of 73 people. At this moment, all of them were kneeling down in front of Yiqing Luo, looking at those pairs of determined and grateful eyes. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. She seemed to understand. Why did the Qiankun Academy have such a high enrollment rate despite being a third-tier academy? The students of this academy were just like their devil class. It was a collective. Student Yiqing Luo, can I be friends with you? The girl looked at Yiqing Luo in anticipation. Yiqing Luo didn't reply. Instead her vision fell onto the girl's tightly clenched fist, and that pale fingertip. It wasn't hard to tell that the girl was feeling apprehensive and uneasy. Chapter 1588. Of course you can. Towards pure girls, Yiqing Luo had always doted on them. Treat them sincerely. She naturally responded sincerely. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she walked up quickly and helped the pair of siblings up. Little sister, don't be too blindly fond of me, I'm not as good as you think. Yiqing Luo held the girl's hand with both her hands, the person you should thank is yourself. Ah. Little Lolita was stunned, not understanding the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words. Yiqing Luo patted the girl's forehead. If it wasn't for you saying to accompany your brother to die, I wouldn't have bothered about this. Ha! Little Lolita was even more shocked. Following that, her face turned slightly red as she scratched her head shyly. So student Yiqing Luo is because of me. Bam! A hard slap made the girl hold her head as she cried out in pain. She raised her head as she looked at Yiqing Luo with teary eyes. A person's life is very precious, don't belittle your own life and don't casually say that you want to die. Yiqing Luo spoke in a serious tone. Have you ever thought that if I didn't make a move earlier and your academy's students didn't stop you, what would happen if you really died with your brother in the water? Have you ever thought about your parents? About your classmates, brothers and sisters? Have you ever thought about the people you care about and care about you? The girl's expression gradually turned grave after hearing Yiqing Luo's words. Her cheeks flushed red. Not because of shyness, not because of anger, but because of embarrassment and realization of her own stupidity. Student Yiqing Luo. The girl clenched her fists as her eyelashes were wet. Yiqing Luo placed both her hands on her shoulders as she stared at the girl's reddened eyes and said word by word, "Don't give up your life so easily. I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong." Bean-sized tears rolled down from the girl's eyes. She turned around and bowed to her brother as she apologized sincerely. "Brother, I'm sorry. She made you worried." Looking at the girl and her brother hugging each other tightly. The smile on Yiqing Luo's face grew wider. As for Yiqing Luo's words, it had caused a huge impact on those students present. They looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. It was as if he was looking at a god that he revered. Such sincerity, such respect. Student Yiqing Luo, thank you. The change in the girl's state of mind made her look even cuter. Little girl, since we're already friends, you don't have to call me classmate. It sounds weird. Yiqing Luo looked at the girl and felt rather astonished at how quickly she understood the meaning of her words. It seemed like this little girl wasn't as simple as she seemed on the surface. Then how about I call you Sister Qing Luo? The girl's eyes sparkled as she asked excitedly. It sounds much better this way. The girl's eyes were filled with smiles as her eyes were clear. Sister Qing Luo, I'm Shiruoshi and this is my brother Shiruoyu. Our Universe Academy is in South Tide Continent and after we leave the Blazing Lair, I must treat Sister Qing Luo to a sumptuous meal. This surname, that was rare. Looking at Shiruoyu and Shiruoshi, whether it was the way they talked or the way they behaved, it revealed that they were of extraordinary status. From the looks of it, they must be some large family's daughter and young master. Making friends with a sister. The few of them exchanged some conventional greetings. Yiqing Luo then suggested to split up with the rest to complete the mission. Chapter 1589. What kind of joke was that? Doing missions. Would they still have the mood to do missions now? The minute they thought that their opponent was Yiqing Luo, how would they be able to let go and do their missions? At least Yiqing Luo had risked her life to save them. If they were to fight with Yiqing Luo, to snatch, wouldn't they be repaying kindness with enmity? More importantly, which one of them was Yiqing Luo's opponent? Looking at everyone's expressions, Yiqing Luo knew what these students were thinking about. Her lips curled up slightly as her voice was calm and indifferent. I saved you, not to blackmail you or anything. If you really feel that you can't get over it, then remember that you owe me, Yiqing Luo, a favor, and that's enough. Students. Devil class, miffed, ha 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 ha. Indeed, Yiqing Luo's so-called kindness and generosity was just a casual remark. She had dug a pit long ago and was waiting for those students to fall into it. Favor was the hardest thing to repay. Yiqing Luo ignored the students' dumbstruck expressions as she continued, saving you is one thing and the academy's competition is another. I hope that all students will not mix the two together. The academy's competition is not only related to the academy's reputation and the academy's future, it is also related to your own reputation and future. The result of this competition will become the reference for the various academies' annual ranking. If you were to give up because of this, your own lives will be ruined. Yiqing Luo's voice paused slightly, giving some time for the students to digest her words. As expected, the expressions of all the students became solemn. They started to ponder over Yiqing Luo's words. This academy's competition wasn't their own competition. It was the academy. It was a competition which represented the entire academy. All of you must remember one sentence. Yiqing Luo's gaze slowly swept past all the students present. That gaze wasn't considered to be passionate, instead it was slightly indifferent. That disdainful look on all living beings, overriding the imposing manner of thousands of people. It made the students' blood boil continuously. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as a smile bloomed on her lips. It was like a dream. Her chilly voice was like spring water, clear and melodious. The biggest respect towards the opponent is to go all out. Every word and sentence struck the hearts of the students. Traces of light appeared on the young faces of the boys and girls. Right, they respected Yiqing Luo, so they should take this academy's competition seriously. If it was because Yiqing Luo had saved them, they would give up on this competition, avoiding the battle with Yiqing Luo. This was not to repay Yiqing Luo for saving his life. But it was contempt towards Yiqing Luo, contempt towards the devil class. Yiqing Luo was a true expert. There was no need for them to hold back at all. The expressions on the faces of the students from the various academies had already regained the vigor and hope that young men and women should have. After a long time, all the students said in unison, "We understand." Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile. Following that, he led the 10 over devil class students behind him and turned to leave. Because of the mutant beast, they had already delayed their rest time. He had to hurry up and find a magic beast for its mana crystal. 7 to 8 academies had been attracted by the stream just now. However, there were still a dozen or so academies, who were still struggling to complete their missions. They had to hurry. Furthermore, no one knew when the dark forces hiding in the dark would appear. The closer it was to the time to leave the fire lair, the possibility of the dark forces appearing in the dark was higher. Chapter 1590. 10 over devil classes students returned to the team. A few elite students immediately went forward as their eyes were filled with worship. Student Yiqing Luo, you really settled the monster under the stream. You're too incredible. They weren't standing far from each other. They had clearly seen everything that had happened by the stream just now. Their admiration towards Yiqing Luo grew. And they felt extremely fortunate. Before this, they had made the right choice, choosing to leave with Yiqing Luo, so that they could have their fill. Only then could they stand here safe and sound. Thinking of Enchanting, the elite students couldn't help but feel disgusted. They had not expected the number one beauty, Enchanting's character, to be so vile. Not only disgusting, it was extremely vicious. When they returned to Heavenly Academy, they must tear off Enchanting's hypocritical mask. Don't be too happy now, our magic crystals have already fallen behind the other academies, and adding on to the fact that our numbers are less than half, if we don't hurry up, we'll probably be at the bottom in this competition." Yiqing Luo smiled faintly, without a single trace of happiness from being praised. He was calm and composed, unperturbed by both praise and humiliation. This made those students feel at ease. Just at this moment, a few chaotic footsteps were heard from behind. Yiqing Luo and the others turned around. 10 elite students from Intermediate Profound Class 2 jogged towards them. "Madam Qing Luo. Please let me return to the team. It's all Qianqian, that slut's fault, blinding our eyes. Madam Qing Luo, please give us one more chance. We will listen to your instructions obediently and work hard for the Academy's glory." Intermediate Profound Class 2 students begged in a low voice. Their words were filled with sincerity. But Yiqing Luo didn't miss the disdain and helpless unwillingness in those students' eyes. This group of students got whatever they wanted in Heavenly Academy. Because of Yiqing Luo, they were demoted to Intermediate Profound Class 2 students. Their reputation was also lost because of Yiqing Luo. How could they possibly be willing to submit to Yiqing Luo? But a man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. They had to make use of Devil Class's power to leave the blazing flame nest alive. That was the most important thing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile, as she looked at those students with a smile yet not a smile. Just as the students were about to give up in fear, suddenly, a light voice drifted into his ears. "All right." The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 were instantly stunned. As if he couldn't believe his ears. Yiqing Luo, she actually agreed. Immediately after, a trace of ridicule appeared in the eyes of the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students. He was secretly laughing at Yiqing Luo's ignorance and waste. At the end of the day, the students of the Devil Class still had to rely on their own abilities. They had long known that Yiqing Luo was waiting for them to return. They wouldn't lower themselves. At least they could regain their sovereignty from Yiqing Luo's hands. But Yiqing Luo's smile was brilliant, extremely dazzling. "We don't keep trash. If you are of no use, I will not hesitate to throw you into the magical beast's stomach." The Intermediate Profound Class 2 students' faces turned pale as a venomous glint flashed past their eyes. Yiqing Luo saw everything. With a cold laugh, he raised his hand and signaled for the group to leave. Behind him, Mo Han Shang wanted to go up and express his thanks several times. But there was never a good opportunity. He stood there hesitantly. After some time, he plucked up his courage and was about to chase up. Suddenly, he heard Yiqing Luo's smiling voice coming from the meadow. Chapter 1591. When Mo Han Shang heard that, his heart twitched fiercely. Soon after, his heart calmed down. So, Yiqing Luo had been paying attention to him. She also knew what he was hesitating about. With Yiqing Luo's words, he was relieved. In the following period of time, Yiqing Luo led a bunch of students as they charged towards the magical beasts without stopping. Of course, Yiqing Luo had gathered the main force on the students from Intermediate Profound Class 2. These students were quite talented and strong. It wasn't much of a problem to deal with these magical beasts. The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 were so tired that they were panting and sweating profusely. There were also quite a number of students who had been scratched by demonic beasts. On the other hand, the students of the Devil Class. There was not even a drop of sweat on his body. Their hearts were extremely unbalanced. But he didn't dare to open his mouth and ask for Yiqing Luo's permission. Although Yiqing Luo had treated the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students as coolies. However, he did not treat them badly in terms of food and drinks. For the sake of these food and water bags, the students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 had to swallow their anger. The route chosen by Yiqing Luo. They were all in the direction where the magical beasts had appeared. However, after 4 hours, Yiqing Luo looked at her space pocket, which was filled to the brim with magic crystals, and took another look at the accumulated points in her pocket. At this time, he had accumulated 430 points. It was far from enough. Yiqing Luo took a look at the students who were still trembling with the magical beasts and decided to split into two. Long Yunzhan, Tong Ziqing, Dong Huanglang, and Qi Yijing were to lead the students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 to fight magical beasts and obtain magic crystals. Whereas she brought a bunch of Devil Class students to ambush the students from the other academies. They were quite lucky. They had just split into two groups. At a corner of the dense forest ahead, Yiqing Luo had found an academy's student. A team of about 100 people. It was probably because he had been attacking the demonic beasts without any rest. Because Yiqing Luo and the others had already cleared all the nearby magical beasts. After the students passed through the dense forest and found that there was no danger, they decided to rest for an hour before continuing. This break gave Yiqing Luo and the others a chance. A group of lunatics swarmed forward. The students didn't even have the chance to react. The interspatial bag had already fallen into Yiqing Luo's hands. Yiqing Luo only took away their magic crystals. Then, he returned the interspatial pouches to them. Go! Squat down an entire academy. Yiqing Luo waved her hand and her heroic spirit soared to the sky. Devil Class's students expressed, following boss to do this kind of sneaky things. Is really 2F** king exciting. Hence, the entire flame lair was in such a state. A team of 50 or so people killed every magical beast they saw. When the students saw the demonic beasts, it was as if they had seen meat on the chopping board. One by one, they rushed forward. That was savage. That was terrifying. Then, he looked at the other group of 50-odd people. They came and went without a trace. Hiding in the dark, they swarmed toward an academy the moment they saw one. Those who hit others hit others. Those who were fighting for space pockets were fighting for space pockets. That was savage. That was terrifying. As a result, when the other academies heard the news, they even trembled in fear as they walked. They were afraid that in the next second, a group of students would rush out and beat them up. This situation continued until the sun gradually rose. Chapter 1592. Yiqing Luo took out her space pocket. When they saw the points on it, the students of Devil Class were all stunned. A number was imprinted on the interspatial pocket. 1,640 points. Actually over 1,000. We're definitely going to win. We're definitely going to win this time. The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 suddenly felt that it was worth it to work so hard for half a day. As long as they were victorious in this academy competition, they would be able to win. They might even be able to return to High Profound Class 2. Don't celebrate too early. Yiqing Luo's expression was indifferent as she kept the space bag. 5,000 magical beasts. We've only obtained 1,640 magical beasts. That's a sure win. The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 disagreed. With so many academies, there are still over 3,000 magic crystals left. If each academy gets a bit, it would be impossible to surpass the amount of magic crystals we have now. Yiqing Luo scoffed. His disdainful gaze swept across the student. What do you mean by this? The Intermediate Profound Class 2 student's face darkened, revealing some anger. We've ambushed more than a dozen academies and robbed more than 1,000 mana crystals. Do you think those academies will let us go? Yiqing Luo sneered as her lips twitched. There's a huge possibility. These students will choose another way to suppress the Heavenly Academy. The intermediate profound class 2 student opened his mouth and only managed to utter a sentence after a while. What method? Cooperate with Nan Tao Academy. Yiqing Luo stared at the eyes of the intermediate profound class 2 students, as she spoke word by word. This was not entirely impossible. If it was her. Then, an academy squatted down several times and snatched away the fruits of their hard work that they had painstakingly collected for several hours. She would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Apart from the few academies that he had saved previously, the other academies would definitely unite to let the Heavenly Academy have a taste of bitterness after the ruckus caused by them. And their backer. It was second only to the Heavenly Academy, Nan Tao Academy. They would unite and hand over all their magical crystals to Nan Tao Academy. If they were to gather with Nan Tao Academy to fight against the Heavenly Academy, the Heavenly Academy only had over 100 students. How could it compare to a dozen academies? But this is an academy competition. The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 raised their doubts. If he handed over his magic crystal, wouldn't that cause their academy's ranking to fall to rock bottom? If 1 or 2 academies didn't get a single magic crystal, it would be a disgrace. But what if 10 over academies, or even all the academies, don't have any magic crystals? Yiqing Luo's brows rose. The Intermediate Profound Class 2 students no longer had any doubts. The other students immediately panicked, then. Boss Qing Luo, what should we do? Before they unite, snatch more magic crystals. Yiqing Luo replied. But, the various academies are working together to snatch our magic crystals. The Intermediate Profound Class 2 students were extremely worried. Yiqing Luo smiled indifferently. I am guarding the space pocket, no one can snatch it. Where did his confidence come from? The students' gazes all fell onto Yiqing Luo. When he saw that pair of enchanting eyes that were suffused with a cold light, he felt a chill run down his spine. Their hearts tightened. Fine, they admit it. Other than Yiqing Luo, there was indeed no one else who could guard the space pocket. Alright, continue to split up. Yiqing Luo saw that everyone had almost finished their rations and waved her hand as she gave the order. The students mourned. But upon recalling what Yiqing Luo said earlier, Chapter 1593. Things were indeed as Yiqing Luo had predicted. Over 10 academies, after experiencing devil classes' continuous harassment, might as well go all the way and directly cooperate, choosing to seek refuge from Nan Tao Academy. Anyway, even if they went back to fight for the magic crystals, eventually it would fall into devil class's hands. Why not voluntarily give up the magic crystals to Nan Tao Academy? So that Nan Tao Academy could suppress Profound Academy's prestige. By the time they left the Blazing Flame Lair, the 10 over academies would then jointly plead with Ghost Martial Artist, pushing all the blame onto Yiqing Luo, and pleading with Ghost Martial Artist to cancel the results of the competition, to use it as a reference for the Academy's annual ranking. Yiqing Luo and the rest searched one round but didn't find any academy. Qing Luo, have they all gone into hiding? Yan Xiaoyi looked at the quiet surroundings. These students are really smart, knowing that they can't beat them, so they took a detour. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. If we find traces of Nan Tao Academy, we will probably be able to find the other academy's students. Seeking for backing so quickly. Yan Xiaoyi hugged her head. Then what should we do? Don't tell me we really have to go head to head with those few academies. She was extremely confident in Devil Class's students' ability. But, the opponents were over 10 academies. And they were all outstanding students from the various academies. The pressure was really huge. Who said we have to go head to head? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at her. I'm not interested in wasting time and energy. Who knew when they would go head to head? Would the dark forces take the opportunity to enter? Then let's find out Nan Tao Academy's whereabouts first and see how many academies are cooperating with Nan Tao Academy before making a decision. Yiqing Luo waved her hand with a casual look. The group of 50 over people scuttled swiftly in the forest. They hadn't discovered anything. The entire sky above the blazing flame lair was surrounded by balls of extremely thick black qi. From the looks of it, it was extremely horrifying. In front of the profound light mirror, Ghost martial artist and the few instructors had a panoramic view of everything that happened in the blazing flame lair. Looking at the profound light mirror, the figures of Yiqing Luo and the others were reflected. The expressions on the faces of the instructors had long since changed from the initial shock to the final one of being used to it. This devil class was always creating surprises for them all the time. Seeing how Yiqing Luo dealt with the strange beast, easily subduing the hearts of the various academy's students, they were only left with admiration for Yiqing Luo. Not only was this girl's strength outstanding, but she was also very quick-witted. The Heavenly Academy was able to accept such a student. He wondered if it was the good fortune he had accumulated in his previous life. The few instructors were clicking their tongues, praising the devil class. Gue Wu's sleeve suddenly moved. The scene within the profound light mirror suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Zhou Mo walked over and asked. Something has happened. Gue Wu's sinister eyes narrowed, as he fixed his gaze on a spot on the profound light mirror. On the screen, it was Yiqing Luo leading a group of students, gradually approaching an academy. And not too far away from Yiqing Luo, at a corner, it was a black aura that lingered like smoke. That black aura could only be seen with the naked eye. It made people unhappy. Zhou Mo had also noticed the black qi, and his expression immediately darkened. That thing actually provoked us. I'm afraid the students are in danger. When the few instructors heard that, they had a dazed expression, not knowing what had happened. They looked at each other in dismay. It was rare to see Gue Wu and Zhou Mo's faces sunk. The matter in the blazing flame lair must be extremely serious. Chapter 1594. We can't create panic among the students. Gue Wu's deep cold voice brought along an irresistible pressure. Young Master Mo, let's go in first and investigate the source of that thing before making a decision. Zhou Mo's brows rose. I have the same intention. Gue Wu took a deep look at the profound light mirror, at that glaring black qi. Suddenly he fished out a space bag from his bosom and drew some profound light mirror qi. Pay attention to the movement of the black qi at all times. If you discover any strange movement or attack the students, immediately inform me through the profound light mirror. Gue Wu looked solemnly at the four instructors. The instructors tensed up as they stood upright. Yes. Gue Wu and Zhou Mo exchanged glances and didn't waste any more time. In a split second, the two of them turned into a black and white afterimage, disappearing in front of the instructor's eyes. Yiqing Luo and the rest finally caught a lone student in the academy. 10 over of them sharpened their blades and prepared to attack. But Yiqing Luo suddenly raised her palm and made a pause gesture. Devil class's students had long formed the habit of obeying orders. The moment she raised her palm, 50 over students hid themselves properly and stopped their attacks. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she glanced sideways. Her slightly knitted brows gradually twisted into a bundle. This was the feeling of profound yin qi. Ever since the profound heart jade returned to her body, Yiqing Luo's sensitivity towards profound yin qi was getting sharper and sharper. If she didn't sense wrongly, she seemed to have sensed the profound yin qi's presence earlier. It was people from the dark forces. Had the dark forces made their move? Yiqing Luo vigilantly released her own perception and spoke out in the mercenary group badge, "Everyone be careful, release your strongest perception and try your best to avoid danger." Devil Class's students reflexively acted according to Yiqing Luo's command. "Qing Luo, what happened?" Yan Xiaoyi's expression turned grave as she carefully stuck to Yiqing Luo's side, looking around vigilantly. "There's profound yin qi." Yiqing Luo clenched her fists. "All of you must be careful, if you're controlled by the profound yin qi, you know the consequences." Recalling the last time, Long Yunzhan was controlled by the profound yin qi. He actually made a move on Yiqing Luo and stabbed Yan Xiaoyi. The Devil Class students felt their hairs stand on end. Everyone shivered and expressed their determination in the metal. "Don't worry, my lord. We will definitely stand strong." Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. "We'll talk about it after you've done it." After warning the students of the Devil Class, Yiqing Luo then focused her attention on her perception. She could clearly sense that there was an extremely dense aura of mysterious yin qi in the vicinity. However, no matter how hard she tried, they were unable to ascertain exactly where the mysterious yin qi that they had sensed was coming from. He glanced at the students who were resting in front of him, not moving at all. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly tightened. A thought flashed across his mind. She clenched her fists. "Stay here and don't move. I'll go take a look." As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a shadow and merged into the air. In the blink of an eye, he had already appeared in front of a student from a nearby academy. Just as he approached, Yiqing Luo saw it. These students were surrounded by a faint layer of mysterious yin qi. That mysterious yin aura was gradually spreading. There were even some mysterious yin qi which directly enveloped those students. As for those students, their eyes were shut as they didn't move at all, not knowing if they were dead or alive. Chapter 1595. What was going on? How did the profound yin qi seep in? Furthermore, why did it feel so strange? Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan flipped as she condensed her profound qi, directly dispersing the profound yin qi which was climbing onto the students' bodies. That profound yin qi seemed to have its own consciousness. Like smoke, it formed into a human shape in mid-air as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo's expression turned cold as she swept up a burst of profound ray from her backhand. A burst of powerful profound energy was like thousands of sharp blades, as it sliced that profound yin qi's human shape into pieces. However, this profound yin qi gathered once again. Countless wisps of mysterious yin qi rose from all directions. Like black smoke, it surged and surged as it permeated the surroundings. This was absolutely not normal. Profound yin qi was based on the dark force's own yin qi and profound qi, gathering into an aura. How could there possibly be such a dense profound yin qi appearing? To create such a profound yin qi's aura, it required at least 50 and above dark forces cultivators. Dark forces had put in a lot of effort to stop her. Impossible. The battle between the Imperial Palace and the Dark Forces had not ended yet. The Imperial Palace was still harassing the Dark Forces. The Dark Forces could at most send 300 to 400 people to deal with them in the Flame Nest. Adding up the various academies' students, there were at least 1,500 over people. Even if they deducted those students who were unwilling to cooperate, there were at least 1,000 people. In terms of numbers, they had a huge advantage. If the Dark Forces made another 10 over people to release their profound yin qi to deal with them, their brains must be spoiled to do this right. The dense profound yin qi which was like a black fog seemed to be extremely interested in Yiqing Luo. It kept rubbing against each other as it tried to charge towards Yiqing Luo. The profound Qi has become so rampant? The students of Devil class who were hiding in the dark naturally saw this scene. Their expressions were stunned as they stared dumbfoundedly at Yiqing Luo, who was enveloped by the profound Qi. Why are you still in a daze? Do it. Find the source of the profound Qi. The glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands had not stopped as it kept on waving, sweeping up streams of air waves, dissipating the surrounding profound Qi. When the Devil class students received the order, they swarmed forward. Once there were more people. Under the circumstances where everyone was on high alert, there was no way to launch a sneak attack with this mysterious Qi. Finally, under the pressure of a student's relentless pursuit, the mysterious Qi drilled into the ground. The entire ground quaked and shook a few times. And then, the mysterious Qi disappeared without a trace. Ran away. Kitty Lee moved her ears and nose, but she didn't smell that disgusting smell. He escaped pretty fast. Kitty Lee can't even smell that smell. The dark forces have indeed made their move. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as her gaze turned to one side. Lu, take a look at these students first and see how their situation is. The other brothers, go search around the surroundings to see where the source of this profound Qi is. Bai Ming Lulu picked up the medical kit, before jumping and squatting in front of the students. Just as he was about to reach out and touch the student's wrist to feel his pulse, suddenly, the student with closed eyes grabbed Bai Ming Lulu's wrist with a backhand. Ah! Bai Ming Lulu screamed and tried to push away the student's hand. But that student's grip was extremely tight. Following that, he opened his tightly shut eyes. Chapter 1596. Lulu. A clear voice was heard and a figure dashed to Bai Ming Lulu's side. The young man's slender fingers locked onto that student's hand, which was pressing on Bai Ming Lulu's wrist, and forcefully pulled that student's hand down. Lian Cheng. Bai Ming Lulu's wrist finally broke free from that student as she was so frightened that she burrowed into Bai Ming Lian Cheng's arms. What's going on? Bai Ming Lian Cheng hugged Bai Ming Lulu tightly as he stared at the other students in front of him and frowned. Madam Qing Luo, these students' eyes. Bai Ming Lulu's shriek had already made Yiqing Luo's attention towards this side. Hearing Bai Ming Lian Cheng's words, Yiqing Luo's figure stretched out as she speedily shifted to the side of the both of them. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and met the other student's eyes. She saw that student with a pair of empty and lifeless eyes. In his eyes, there were wisps of black qi lingering around. That was profound Qi. This student's eyes were completely shrouded by a ball of black mist. No wonder Bai Ming Lulu cried out in fright when she saw it. Profound Qi, in this student's eyes. Could it be that this was a greedy person who had signed a soul contract with the dark forces? This thought had just flashed past her mind when Yiqing Luo immediately denied it. A cultivator who had signed a soul contract with the dark forces. He was making use of the profound Qi to achieve his own motive. And not like now. His eyes were filled with profound Qi. But this person had long stopped breathing. Take a look at the other students. Yiqing Luo stared at those eyes which were filled with profound Qi, and after some time, she immediately opened her mouth to give an order. Not long later, Yan Xiaoyi came back with an answer. This should be a third-tier academy. There's a total of 52 students and all of them have stopped breathing. Not only that, these students who had stopped breathing could still do the same as what they did to Bai Ming Lulu earlier. Stretching out their hands to grab them. Then they opened their eyes. Without exception, their eyes were filled with profound Qi. The entire atmosphere started to turn strange. What on earth are the dark forces trying to do? Yan Xiaoyi's slender brows creased tightly as she stared at those pairs of empty eyes on the ground, feeling goosebumps. No matter how strong she was usually, deep down, she was still a woman. Shadow, have you discovered anything? Yiqing Luo's gaze looked outside the crowd, at the pink dumpling which was still wandering around. Mo Ying heard the voice and stopped in her tracks. She turned her head stiffly. There was not a trace of emotion on that extremely sweet but extremely expressionless face. His lifeless eyes were even more empty than those of the dead students on the ground. It was a horrifying sight to behold. There's a formation. Mo Ying's red lips opened and closed, her soft voice spitting out 3 words. Array formation. Yiqing Luo's mind suddenly cleared up. That's right. It was an array formation. The mystical Yin energy that could only be condensed by 50 dark organizations combined. And this third-tier academy student had died mysteriously. It was all because of the array formation. The formation of the dark forces. Have you found the array core? Yiqing Luo immediately asked. Although Mo Ying usually had a poker face, she didn't have much of a presence. But she was more attentive. It was precisely because she had no sense of existence. Only then would she be able to investigate the surrounding situation in the shortest time possible. Chapter 1597. F***CK. What kind of heaven-defying formation was this? How come she had never heard of such a formation? Cough cough. In his mind, Old Man Song coughed a few times. This array, the Nirvana realm doesn't have it, the upper realm doesn't have it, but the dark forces can have it. F***CK. To be able to provide an endless supply of dark forces energy, then what's the point of me fighting with them? Yiqing Luo exploded. She was human. People with flesh and blood. Fighting against the monsters of the dark forces was already an incredible feat. Those monsters were even using hacks. Then how was she supposed to fight? That was the rhythm of a suicide mission. Could she just turn around and run? There are not many people in the dark forces, but even the upper realm is very afraid of the dark forces because of the forbidden spells and secret techniques of the dark forces. Old Man Song explained, this array formation was created using the dark forces' unique forbidden curse. It indeed looks savage and inhumane, but this kind of forbidden curse array formation is an existence that cannot be tolerated by the heavens. Doesn't that little lowly already know the direction of the formation eye? As long as the eye of the formation is destroyed, the formation will naturally be broken. What kind of solution was this? Destroy the formation eye. It could break any array formation, okay? She had read quite a lot, so she couldn't be fooled. Ahem. What I mean is that the formation core of this formation is different from other formations. Other formations have barriers and self-protection abilities, but the formation core of a formation created by a forbidden spell is extremely weak. As long as you approach it, the formation core will be destroyed. Sensing Yiqing Luo's inner agitation swelling up, Old Man Song violently coughed a few times and no longer kept him in suspense. It seemed like he could only destroy the formation core. Shadow, where is the eye of the array? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath to ease the emotions in her heart. Mo Ying was about to speak. Suddenly, he heard a complacent and shameless laughter coming from behind him. Isn't this a student from the devil class? This voice made Yiqing Luo's head hurt. Zi Qianqian, this haunting woman. Why did he bump into Zi Qianqian everywhere he went? Everyone looked toward the source of the voice. Zi Qianqian was dressed in a green academy uniform, looking like a proud plum flower that stood alone in the world. Beside her was Su Xiaolian, who had also changed into a green academy uniform. Yiqing Luo wasn't unfamiliar with this academy uniform. Therefore, he only glanced at it. Yiqing Luo knew which academy Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian had collaborated with. That academy was Phoenix Academy. As expected, behind Zi Qianqian were approximately 140 over students, following behind Ji Zhangtian and Lan Ling Nuo in a majestic manner. He left valiantly and in high spirits. He walked like the wind. Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian approached together. He looked at the corpses on the ground that had long since stopped breathing. The two little beauties were so scared that their faces turned pale. She immediately ignored her demeanor and screamed out loud. Zi Qianqian shouted. Ji Zhangtian took quick steps forward. After seeing the corpse, Ji Zhangtian's eyes actually revealed a wild joy and smile. Devil class. You all actually killed the students from other academies just for the magic crystals. Zi Qianqian directly put a big hat on Yiqing Luo. When he saw Zi Qianqian appear, he was shocked. Yiqing Luo had already guessed the current situation. These students, Zi Qianqian would definitely think of ways and means to push the crime of killing onto devil class. Heavenly Academy would also be disqualified from the competition because of this. Heavenly Academy was not only at the bottom among the other academies. Chapter 1598. The students of the Heavenly Academy are really savage. Ji Zhangtian laughed sinisterly as he walked up. All the students in my Celestial Phoenix Academy have seen it clearly. A few students from the Celestial Phoenix Academy looked at the dead students. Boss Ji, these are students from the Wind Vane Academy. All dead? Ji Zhangtian casually asked. The students of the Celestial Phoenix Academy immediately nodded. They are all dead. The viciousness in Ji Zhangtian's eyes gradually expanded. He sneered as he looked at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, what else do you have to quibble about? You're slandering me. Devil class's student's face turned black as he pointed at Ji Zhangtian and shouted angrily, when we came here, these people were already dead, so what has it got to do with us? Ji Zhangtian gave a cold harumph. There are so many pairs of eyes watching, how could it be fake? You! Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand to block the devil class's students as she stepped forward. Her squinting eyes rose slightly. It was an invisible aura that was being released. This made Ji Zhangtian and the others' hearts tremble inexplicably. Ji Zhangtian's body tensed up as his expression turned stiff. He turned his head and looked at the 100 or so brothers behind him. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. I can't let this bitch have another chance to make a comeback. He couldn't let this bitch destroy everything he had. I can't be afraid of this bitch. Ji Zhangtian kept on warning himself in his heart. Yiqing Luo's vision lightly swept past Ji Zhangtian, Zi Qianqian and the others. Her gaze was calm and extremely cold. It landed on everyone. It was like a thin layer of ice sweeping across their skin. An inexplicable chill ran down his spine. What a coincidence that Celestial Phoenix Academy has come. Yiqing Luo said with a smile. It was indeed a coincidence. Only then did they realize that the students of the Wind Bloodline Academy were all dead. Ji Zhangtian led his bunch of brothers as he rushed over. If not for the fact that he was a student of the Wind Bloodline Academy, he would have died to the profound Yin Qi. Yiqing Luo even suspected if these students were killed by Ji Zhangtian and the others, intentionally framing her. However, based on the current situation, even if the Wind Vane Academy wasn't killed by the Celestial Phoenix Academy, that was also related to Ji Zhangtian. That time when Ji Zhangtian joined the Mercenary Association, his name was removed from the Mercenary Association and the entire Ji family was blacklisted by the Mercenary Association. All these were because of Yiqing Luo, which caused him to have no way to make a comeback. At that critical moment, Ji Zhangtian would be targeted by the dark forces. He could even make deals with the dark forces. These were all within Yiqing Luo's expectations. However, earlier when they were beside the strange beasts, Yiqing Luo didn't sense any profound yin qi from Ji Zhangtian. At this moment, close contact. Yiqing Luo had not sensed any profound yin qi from Ji Zhangtian. What a coincidence! Of course it was a coincidence. If it wasn't a coincidence, how could I have caught you killing the students of the Wind Vane Academy and exposed the true face of a vicious woman like you? Ji Zhangtian puffed out his chest, trying his best to make himself look even more awe-inspiring. Behind her, the 140-plus students of the Celestial Phoenix Academy immediately raised their arms and shouted in unison, "Expose the true face of this vicious woman. I'll expose the true face of this vicious woman." Their voices were extremely loud and clear in unison. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. These people were apparently trying to lure the students from the other academies over. Chapter 1599. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a cold arc which didn't look like a smile. Her expression was calm, without the slightest hint of panic. Everything is based on evidence. You want to make the Heavenly Academy a scapegoat. You've underestimated the Heavenly Academy. She held on to the devouring flame fan and lightly waved it. She raised her brows and said, "Then what if I say that this person was killed by your Celestial Phoenix Academy? Ha! Do you think? How many people would believe the words of someone like you, who plunders other academies' magical crystals, when you say that? Anne. I have a student from the Heavenly Academy who personally identified you." Ji Zhangtian had long made full preparations. Totally not afraid of Yiqing Luo's retaliation. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell onto Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian. Su Xiaolian was supporting Zi Qianqian, and when she sensed Yiqing Luo's line of sight, she immediately stood in front of Zi Qianqian and forced herself to speak out. "Student Yiqing Luo, it's a fact that you killed the Wind Vane Academy's students because of the magic crystals. This matter concerns more than 50 lives. Even if it's for the sake of the Heavenly Academy, we will absolutely not watch you commit the wrong things time and time again. Yes, more than 50 lives are at stake." Zi Qianqian looked at those students lying on the ground as he sighed softly, as though he was extremely regretful. "Student Yiqing Luo, follow us to meet Gui Wu." The moment Zi Qianqian's voice fell, Yiqing Luo's originally calm and tranquil expression suddenly surfaced a layer of coldness. Those torch-like eyes were like sharp blades that pierced straight into Zi Qianqian's heart. "Oh. Meet Master Gui Wu. That's a good idea." Her voice was extremely cold, as if it was wrapped in a layer of frost. Zi Qianqian was overwhelmed with shock. How could Yiqing Luo possibly agree to meet Gui Wu? Had Yiqing Luo found out about something? Zi Qianqian's eyes were filled with fear as he met Yiqing Luo's enchanting eyes. How could she possibly let Yiqing Luo meet Gui Wu? If they were to meet Gui Wu, wouldn't the meticulous plan that she and Feng Ling had devised be ruined? They could not let Yiqing Luo leave the blazing flame nest. He could not drag the ghost martial artist into this. She must make Yiqing Luo die here before the Academy's competition. At this moment, the huge commotion created by the Celestial Phoenix Academy. This attracted the attention of many nearby academies. Not long after, the students of the 3 academies walked over. "What's going on?" one of the academies asked. Ji Zhangtian naturally added oil and vinegar as he pushed everything onto Heavenly Academy. "I heard someone died." The students from the 3 academies were stunned. A student from one of the academies immediately went to check on the student from the Wind Vane Academy. Then, he realized that the students of the Wind Vane Academy had indeed stopped breathing. His face turned pale with fright. They were the elites chosen by the various academies. Regardless of talent or family background, they were both extremely powerful. Although Gue Wujiang's words this time were a little harsh. He even said that he wouldn't care about their lives. But these students understood very well in their hearts. Even in the Jianghu, the ghost martial artist's position was highly respected. It was also impossible for him to watch as his students died in the flame nest. They had always harbored such thoughts. But, now that he had seen a student die, he couldn't help but sigh. The fear in the students' hearts was completely unleashed. Chapter 1600. No. Impossible. A clear and melodious female voice suddenly rang out. Following that, a petite figure emerged from the 300 over students and ran towards Yiqing Luo. Little she. Yiqing Luo saw the little girl who had pounced into her arms, and her lips unconsciously curled into a smile. The current Yiqing Luo was no longer cold and aloof. Coincidentally, among the 3 academies who had rushed over, one of them was the Universe Academy which Yiqing Luo had saved by the riverside. Sister Qing Luo will not kill people for magic crystals. Sister Qing Luo respects life the most. She stared furiously at Ji Tsangtian. Her intuition told her. This man named Ji Tsangtian was definitely not an upright person. Ji Tsangtian's expression sunk slightly. He had asked Celestial Phoenix Academy's students to create a huge commotion. It was to completely seal off Yiqing Luo's escape route. He had not expected that he had attracted Devil Class's helper instead. What academy student? When did he have such a good relationship with Yiqing Luo? Ji Tsangtian sized up Shiruoshi's uniform. Immediately following that, a tall figure blocked Ji Tsangtian's line of sight. Shiruo stood upright as he stood in front of Ji Tsangtian. Student Ji Tsangtian, everything must be based on evidence. If you don't have any evidence, then don't keep on slandering Heavenly Academy and slandering Devil Class. Immediately following that, 70 over students walked out from the group and followed Shiruo as they stood on Yiqing Luo's side. Good. Good. Universe Academy, since you want to be Heavenly Academy's helper, then the Wind Vane Academy's student's death is definitely related to you. The both of you are in cahoots. Ji Tsangtian was ignored by Universe Academy's students as his anger surged. In the past, when Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was still around, whoever saw him, wouldn't they address him respectfully as group leader Ji? But now, a small third-tier academy also dared to look down on him. Ji Tsangtian's eyes were filled with viciousness as he turned his head and called out to his brothers, "Find me Gue Wu. Let Gue Wu handle this matter." Student Ji. Zi Qianqian's heart trembled as he immediately spoke out, trying to persuade Ji Tsangtian. Before she could speak, she heard a flirtatious voice interrupting her. "Brother Tsangtian is right. The students of the Wind Vane Academy died in the blazing flame lair. Whether it was the doing of the Devil Class or not, once we find Master Gue Wu, everything will naturally be clear." Lan Ling Nua walked out flirtatiously as her petite body covered Ji Tsangtian's body. Lan Ling Nua hadn't dressed up during the past few days in the flame lair. She hadn't dared to appear in front of her classmates. But today, seeing Zi Qianqian pestering Ji Tsangtian non-stop, and even acting coquettishly towards Ji Tsangtian several times, Lan Ling Nua could no longer endure it. She was the #1 beauty of the Eastern continent. She was the princess of the East continent. Even if she didn't like Ji Tsangtian. But Ji Tsangtian was already her man. She would never allow any woman to snatch her man away. Sister Nuo. The minute Ji Tsang Tian saw Lan Ling Nuo, his expression instantly turned gentle. He stretched out his long arm and pulled Lan Ling Nuo into his embrace. Aren't you feeling unwell? Why don't you rest more? Such a huge matter has happened, how can I rest in peace? Lan Ling Nuo used a gentle tone to reply. Feeling the concern from Sister Nuo, Ji Tsang Tian's heart instantly felt a warm current brushing past. He tightened his arms as he laughed softly. All right, Brother Tsang Tian will settle this matter immediately, so that my sister Nuo can rest in peace. Lan Ling Nuo pouted coquettishly as she looked at Ji Tsang Tian shyly. Chapter 1601. As Lan Ling Nuo said that, she didn't forget to throw a provocative gaze towards Zi Qianqian. Don't you know whose man he is and dare to snatch him away? Who do you think you are? Zi Qianqian's face instantly turned pale, and immediately following that, it turned steely green and then black. That exquisite face revealed a twisted malevolent look. Zi Qianqian's fingers locked onto Su Xiaolian's wrist as she suppressed the anger in her heart. Goddess Qianqian, you must bear with it. Don't bother about what that coquettish fox wants to do, as long as we drag the time and lure all the students here. Our mission will be completed. Su Xiaolian comforted her softly, just a little while more and we will be able to watch Yi Qing Luo die in pain. Just bear with it for a little while more. Zi Qianqian took a deep breath. What kind of person did that coquettish fox treat her, Zi Qianqian, as? A man like Ji Tsang Tian, who had no ambition, no ability, was fit to enter her eyes? A man who could make her, Zi Qianqian, take a fancy to. Other than Nangong Firen, there was no one else. But Zi Qianqian had just calmed herself down in her heart. She saw Ji Tsang Tian sending someone to look for Gue Wu under Lan Ling Nuo's persuasion. How could Zi Qianqian allow her plan to fail at the last moment? She could only head up and block Ji Tsang Tian. Student Ji, Master Gue Wu said before the competition ends, we will absolutely not be able to find Gue Wu and absolutely not be able to leave the blazing nest. Now is a matter of life and death. Any other rules are all fake. Lan Ling Nuo pushed Zi Qianqian's body away as she revealed a smile which she thought was peerlessly beautiful. This sister, could it be that just because the person who killed the students is from Heavenly Academy, you want to absolve Heavenly Academy? If I wanted to absolve Heavenly Academy, I wouldn't be standing here right now. Zi Qianqian suppressed her anger as she looked coldly at Lan Ling Nuo. On the other hand, Student Lan, you kept persuading Student Ji to look for Master Gue Wu. I'm afraid you've received some benefits from other academies and intentionally want Celestial Phoenix Academy to break the competition's rules to be eliminated. You're talking rubbish. I wholeheartedly care for Big Brother Tsang Tian. How could I possibly cause Celestial Phoenix Academy to be eliminated? Lan Ling Nuo's face instantly flushed red as she held on to Ji Tsang Tian's arm. Brother Tsang Tian, look at her. Student Zi. Ji Tsang Tian grumbled as he stared at Zi Qianqian and immediately turned around to coax Lan Ling Nuo. The devil class students who were watching from afar expressed, children fighting for a man, what a great show. If they fought even more fiercely, this show would be even more exciting. Zi Qianqian was stared at by Ji Tsang Tian, causing Zi Qianqian's pride as the number one beauty to suffer a heavy blow. Her looks and her abilities were clearly above Lan Ling Nuo's. Why was Ji Tsang Tian's vision always on Lan Ling Nuo? Goddess Qianqian. Su Xiaolian could feel the rage in Zi Qianqian's heart surging. He was about to open his mouth to persuade Zi Qianqian. However, he heard the sound of messy footsteps coming from all directions. The students of the various academies gathered and walked over. The moment Imo Han Shang saw the situation of the confrontation, he took a look at Ji Tsang Tian and Zi Qianqian. Finally his gaze fell onto the corpses all over the ground. Students died. The various academies' students were all stunned. Some students even specially went over to confirm, after they found out that those students had indeed stopped breathing. Their faces were filled with shock and astonishment. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.